Lin Moyu tried various methods, not to mention getting close to the white tiger, even flying tens of millions of kilometers away. Even Lin Moyu tried to contain the ancient talisman. The ancient talisman can indeed absorb a large amount of strong wind, but it will soon be blown to pieces by the strong wind. According to Suzaku, the dense whirlwind tens of millions of kilometers away from White Tiger is the most difficult area. Lin Moyu felt like giving up, feeling that even if Lin Mohan came, it would be difficult for her sword power to break through. Even if you can barely break through, how much attack power is left? Lin Moyu was thinking, and suddenly he came up with a possibility. He looked at Suzaku. Can you go over? Suzaku said, it's barely possible, but when I get there, I can only protect myself and cannot launch an attack. If the attack reaches a certain intensity, the white tiger cannot be awakened. Lin Moyu's eyes lit up. As long as you can get over, no need to attack, as long as you can get over. Lin Moyu began to draw runes, and the strength of his whole body exploded, forming a barrier to temporarily block the strong wind and prevent him from drawing runes. 10 minutes later, an ancient talisman appeared in front of him. The ancient containment talisman is more powerful than the containment talisman array. Lin Moyu pointed his finger on the 23 ancient talismans, communicating with the vast space within it, and placed the Hell of Bones into it. Just in case, Lin Moyu also summoned all 25 skeleton kings and put them inside together. Suzaku looked at Lin Moyu curiously, not knowing what he was going to do. After Lin Moyu finished, he handed the ancient containment talisman to Suzaku. Take this over here for me, the closer the better. Okay, let me try. Suzaku opened his mouth and bit the ancient talisman of containment. Flames rose up all over his body, and his original power exploded, flying towards the white tiger. Amidst the wild blowing and roaring, a huge red bird covered in flames cut through thorns, braved the strong wind, crossed the starry sky, and flew towards the white tiger. The power of the source continued to collide and confront each other. The Suzaku sped along in the strong wind, getting closer and closer to the white tiger. Suzaku flew very steadily, and the strong wind had no impact on him. Lin Moyu knows that this is the gap in strength. Suzaku possesses supreme combat power, and with the blessing of the original power, his combat power is even stronger than that of ordinary supremes. Although he has many means, he is far inferior to Suzaku in terms of hard power. In the final analysis, the realm is still not enough. Seeing that Suzaku came to the most difficult area, there were countless whirlwinds. Suzaku made sharp screams, flames rolled, and countless whirlwinds were burned out by the flames. But in the next second, more whirlwinds rushed over, and Suzaku's speed slowed down obviously. Lin Moyu's eyes also became sharp at this moment. Whether he can succeed or not depends on now. Suzaku moved forward hard, crossing the whirlwind, until he could no longer make any progress. He finally reached the limit and was less than 10,000 kilometers away from the white tiger. The last 10,000 kilometers are like a natural chasm, even Suzaku can't get close to it. After trying several times, Suzaku determined that he could not get close. His wings vibrated violently, and he swung out violent flames, forcibly smashing a passage directly to the white tiger. The ancient containment talisman spurted out from his mouth and flew towards the white tiger along the passage he smashed. The ancient containment talisman turned into a stream of light and hit the white tiger. White Tiger's body was also covered with strong winds, which were so violent that the ancient containment talisman exploded instantly. The Skeleton King flew out of the ancient talisman and immediately launched a fierce attack on the white tiger. The Bone Hell also unfolded at the same time, trying to cover the white tiger. Unfortunately, the Skeleton King was already knocked around by the strong wind just as he was about to take action, and was unable to swing his sword at all. In less than half a second, the Skeleton King was blown to pieces. Advertisement. Fortunately, the Hell of Bones successfully unfolded and contained the white tiger. Although the white tiger was cut into pieces by the strong wind in an instant, it was enough for Lin Moyu. The mark is completed. Lin Moyu successfully locked the white tiger. When Suzaku flew back, his aura was much weaker than before departure. It was obvious that Li Gao had been exhausted. Suzaku asked, "How is it?" Lin Moyu smiled, "Watch my performance." The aura rose, temporarily blocking the strong wind, and at the same time, he took out the minced meat of several corpses. The corpses of the Saint Realm had been used up before. Later, I killed 3 saints from the Black Blood Realm and replenished them. There were still quite a few from the Other Shore Realm. If the Other Shore Realm is enough to awaken the White Tiger, then it is necessary to use the Holy Venerable Realm to dismember the corpse, and save as much as possible. White Star Technique, Corpse Explosion. There was a loud bang, and a huge explosion wave suddenly set off on the White Tiger. He doesn't have to worry that his attack will hurt the White Tiger. The White Tiger's combat power is stronger than that of ordinary supreme beings. As the original divine beast, its defense power is so amazing that it can't be hurt easily. Suzaku stared, "Is it just your technique?" Lin Moyu nodded, "Yes, my technique." His hands kept moving as he spoke, and he detonated 2 more explosions in succession. The explosion roared and destroyed part of the strong wind, so the power was still good. Lin Moyu concentrated the location of the explosion at one point. Only in this way can it have the greatest effect. Suzaku said, "This technique of yours is very strong and ignores space and time. If I guessed correctly, you used this technique to destroy the first source crystal." Lin Moyu admitted generously, "Yes, it is this technique." Suzaku was confused again, "But this technique of yours is not powerful enough to destroy the original crystal." Lin Moyu said, "The power of this technique depends on the strength of the corpse. The stronger the corpse, the greater the power of the technique. I used 6 saint-level corpses to blow up the origin crystal before." "That's it." Suzaku felt a sudden realization, and suddenly his eyes widened. "According to your statement, if you were given a corpse of Qinzuan, would you be able to blow up Wei Zun?" Lin Moyu hummed, "It's true." Only then did Suzaku truly realize the perversion of this technique. It not only ignored time and space, but as long as there was a powerful enough corpse, it was simply a killing weapon. Suzaku murmured, "How can there be such a perverted technique in the world?" Lin Moyu also knew that his magic was very powerful, but when these words came out of Suzaku's mouth, something was a little different. After all, Suzaku has seen the big world and has been dealing with the heavenly lords. There is no magic technique he has not seen before. Lin Moyu couldn't help but ask, "Is the only method abnormal?" Suzaku said, "Your technique has no original power, but it can ignore space and time. As long as you have a powerful enough corpse, you can kill enemies regardless of realm. Isn't that perverted enough? Speaking of which, the spell you used to devour the Black Blood Frenzy is also very perverted, even more perverted than the Supreme Realm spell that incorporates the power of the source." Suzaku kept using the word pervert, and the way he looked at Lin Moyu was a little different. Lin Moyu felt that he had been regarded as a pervert by Suzaku. Following Suzaku's words, Lin Moyu asked, "Are there many items containing the power of origin?" Suzaku shook his head, "Not many. There are many kinds of original items, some are very strong, but they look like rubbish." Lin Moyu asked, "Can you elaborate?" Suzaku was about to speak when suddenly a roar echoed through the starry sky. After being blasted by Lin Moyu more than 10 times, Bai Hu finally woke up. One roar after another, the sound was deafening, and the soul world was buzzing. If it were just an ordinary god, his soul would probably be shattered. The White Tiger's roar filled the starry sky, and Suzaku didn't take it seriously. "Ignore him, this guy has to scream for a while every time he wakes up. We continue to say that the origin can be divided into several levels. The gods at that time believed that the origin of the big world was the strongest, followed by the origin of the small world, and the origin of the world sea. I don't know where the source of the Jihai comes from, but the heavenly lords often go to the Jihai, so there should be a source. It's just that those origins are relatively poor, far inferior to the big world." Suzaku was a good teacher and regarded Lin Moyu as a comrade in arms, so he spoke in detail. "The small world he talks about is not the small world Lin Moyu was born into. It is a truly independent and complete world, but it is relatively small in scale and has no heavenly lord, so it is called a small world. A world like Dojie is also a small world, but it has grown to a certain scale. Maybe one day it will give birth to Tianzuan and become a big world. Whether or not there is a celestial being is the key to world classification. Looking at the big world today, Lin Moyu feels a little ridiculous. It's obviously a big world, but now that Tianzuan has completely gone, even the divine path has been cut off, it no longer deserves to be called a big world. Lin Moyu didn't know how strong the original fire he had fused was. According to Suzaku, it should be a world-class source of 670 fire. I don't know where the mysterious owner got this original fire, and he has kept it until now. Lin Moyu suddenly asked, "In the Boundary Sea, can you see the reality of the big world?" He suddenly thought of another question. He could get Jia Haibei and saw that Dojia was coming. The Supremes in Dojie also have the opportunity to obtain Jia Haibei. I wonder how they will react when they see the big world. After all, the big world is so big, hundreds of times bigger than the fighting world. I'm afraid the people in Dojie are already desperate. Suzaku said, "In fact, you can see some of it. If you are strong enough, such as the level of the Peak Supreme. At that level, the origin and soul merge, and they have extremely strong sensitivity. They can sense some situations in the world, such as the origin of the world, whether it is strong or weak, whether there is a deity in it, etc." Lin Moyu couldn't help but feel a little in his heart. In this case, it is very likely that Dojia has already regarded the great world as meat and potatoes. It seems that Tianzuan Sheng needs to travel again, travel a few more times, and then take a closer look at the situation in the Dojie. The white tiger's roar finally stopped, and the white tiger completely woke up. "Which bastard disturbs my sleep? I'm going to eat you." Baihu uttered human words, roared, and looked towards Lin Moyu. When he saw Zhuke, he was obviously shocked. "Suzaku?" He raised his tiger paw and rubbed his eyes. After confirming that he had seen correctly, he roared, "Suzaku!" The white tiger turned into a violent wind, shattered the starry sky, and appeared in front of Suzaku in an instant. The huge tiger claws were so fierce that they hugged Suzaku. Suzaku didn't dodge. It was obviously not the first time this happened. He was used to it. They are both divine beasts of origin. They fight together. They experience life and death together, and they have a deep affection for each other. "Suzaku, Suzaku, I didn't expect to see you again." It's great, it's great." Baihu shouted loudly, his voice was deafening. He was so excited that his huge body was trembling slightly. Suzaku finally exposed his head. Okay, if you hold me any longer, I will be strangled to death by you." When Baihu let go, Suzaku straightened his messed up feathers and said, "Don't you know how long you have been in power?" Baihu chuckled and said, "I'm so excited, so excited. I didn't expect you to actually complete Nirvana." Suzaku said, "It was Lin Moyu who woke me up, otherwise I don't know how much time it would take." Only then did Baihu pay attention to Lin Moyu beside him. "Did you wake up Suzaku?" Lin Moyu nodded slightly. From the few conversations between Baihu and Suzaku, he could already tell that Baihu's character was quite straightforward, even a little simple. Suzaku continued, "Not only did he wake me up, he also woke you up." Baihu's eyes changed slightly. He knew his situation. When he was sleeping, the strong wind protected his body, making it difficult for ordinary supreme beings to get close. Lin Moyu is just on the other side. How can he wake up? Suzaku said, "Stop talking about this. I have something to do to wake you up." Suzaku's expression became serious and he told the story about the Black Blood Realm. After hearing about the Black Blood Realm, Baihu also showed deep disgust in his eyes. Like Suzaku, he hates the Black Blood Realm from the depths of his soul. They are mortal enemies and sworn enemies. Baihu said, "It's no problem to chase souls with blood. I've done this before. Just give me a corpse, the fresher the better. It's best if the blood hasn't been opened yet." Before he finished speaking, a piece of minced meat appeared in front of him. This was the minced meat of a saint in the world of black blood. The dark blood on it had not yet dried. Lin Moyu asked, "Is this okay?" Baihu's pupils shrank and his nose moved. "The guy from the black blood realm is still so smelly. No problem. This piece of flesh and blood is enough. Get out of your way. I'm about to cast a spell." Lin Moyu and Juke retreated as instructed, making way for Baihu. The white tiger's eyes became brighter and brighter. A pair of tiger eyes bloomed with rays of light, and silently felt the rich source of the west. Immediately afterwards, two beams of light shot out from the white tiger's eyes, covering the flesh and blood. Technique: Bloodline Soul Chasing. The flesh and blood melted silently, turning into a black mass. The black blood is extremely pure, and the stench becomes even stronger. Suzaku explained on the side, people in the black blood world are rooted in blood. All their blood and essence are given to the world, and the world feeds them back and gives them strength. The blood they ended up leaving in their bodies to sustain life was actually dirty blood. This kind of cultivation method makes every person in the black blood realm look like a mummy, and the stench rises to the sky. This was the first time Lin Moyu learned that the cultivation method of the black blood realm was so weird. Sacrifice the essence and blood, leaving only the dirty blood, and then feed it back from the world to gain great power. Lin Moyu instinctively felt that this cultivation method was wrong and it shouldn't be like this. But every world has its own characteristics, and he cannot make an objective evaluation based on his current state. The black blood quickly deformed under the white tiger's spell and began to separate into thin lines. These thin lines disappeared into the void. Every thin line contains a trace of Baihu's original power. Only he can sense it and no outsiders can see it. Suzaku asked, "How is it?" "There are several places in total." Baihu said, "There are 4 places in total, 3 are inside the territory, and 1 is outside the territory, far away." Suzaku immediately said, "Ignore the ones outside the domain, and deal with the 3 within the domain." "Okay." Baihu responded immediately, "Forget it, just sit on my back, you are too slow." Only Baihu himself can track it, others don't know the specific location at all. Even Suzaku can't keep up with his speed, let alone Lin Moyu. He simply offered up his tiger's back for the 2 of them to ride on. Suzaku shook his head, "You are too slow, Lin Moyu, unfold the star map and let Baihu point in the direction." Suzaku said that Baihu was slow, and Baihu was very unhappy. Baihu said, "Among the 4 of us, I am second in terms of speed. Who dares to be first? How can he, a little guy from the other side realm, be faster than me?" Suzaku glanced at Baihu and didn't explain too much. He seemed to be saying, "Just watch." Lin Moyu had already opened the star map. Baihu looked at the star map and murmured, "Why is this star map so different from ours back then?" Suzaku said, "Don't think about how long you have slept. The world has changed a lot in these years. We will talk about this later. First, mark the location of the black blood world." Baihu studied the star map for a while, finally matched the position, and then marked it. The Black Blood Realm is hidden in 3 places. 1 is near the Golden Eagle Clan Star Field, and is close to the junction. The other one is in the Xuanwu battlefield, and the last one is in the Dark Void at the junction of the Suzaku Star Territory and the Azure Dragon Star Territory. After calculating the distance, Lin Moyu had a plan in mind. "Let's go to the junction first, then to the Xuanwu battlefield, and finally to the Dark Void. While on the Xuanwu battlefield, try to see if you can awaken Xuanwu." Suzaku had no objection to Lin Moyu's arrangement. Dark Void does need to be purified, but that guy is not easy to wake up. Baihu patted his chest and said, "Leave this matter to me. It only takes a minute to wake that guy up. But you kid, hurry up and show me how fast you can be." Lin Moyu smiled slightly, unfolded the wings of the undead, flowed the laws of space, and opened the door to space. Baihu was stunned for a moment, and then shouted, "Space law, you are cheating, how can this be considered fast?" Suzaku snorted, "Are you stupid in your sleep? If anyone has ever competed with you, just tell them if they are faster than you. Suzaku's original words were, "You are too slow," and he did not mention speed. It was Baihu who was always talking about speed. In his eyes, the space gate has nothing to do with speed, it is teleportation. What he calls speed is flight speed. Baihu was speechless by Suzaku, and angrily turned his head and ignored Suzaku. Suzaku spread his wings and patted the white tiger on the head. "What are you doing here? Come in quickly." Baihu muttered, "You are cheating." Although he was 100 times unconvinced, he finally got through the door of space. The space gate travels 10,000 light years at a time, once every 10th second, which is indeed much faster than flying. In just a few minutes, across dozens of light years, we reached our destination. Baihu muttered, "How come the big world has become so desolate? Not even a single star can be seen along the way, and the scope has become much smaller." Lin Muyu explained, "There were many stars here before, but now we have moved all these stars back to the human star domain." Baihu was puzzled. "Why do you do this?" Suzaku patted Baihu on the head again. "Why do you ask so many questions? With your brain, what's the use of knowing it?" Baihu was indignant. "Suzaku, although we are good brothers, you can't insult my wisdom." Suzaku rolled his eyes at him. "Doesn't your wisdom need to be insulted?" Baihu bared his teeth in anger, then Suzaku patted him again. "Stop talking nonsense, hurry up and lead the way." The white tiger snorted, turned his head and flew in one direction. Lin Muyu found it funny. Suzaku was clearly outnumbered by White Tiger. White Tiger was indeed not as smart as Suzaku and was always at a disadvantage. However, the relationship between the two is very good. Although they argue verbally, they are not really angry. The white tiger is very fast. Although it cannot understand the laws of space, it can cross the starry sky with its supreme power. Lin Muyu used the power of time and space to increase his speed to the limit of 3.2 billion kilometers per second in order to keep up. Baihu thought that Lin Muyu would be unable to keep up, so he looked back and found that Lin Muyu was right behind him. Seeing this, White Tiger screamed strangely again, "The power of time and space, you actually understand the law of time? Understanding the laws of space and time at the same time, you must be a monster." Lin Muyu felt strange. Didn't there exist space god and time god in ancient times? Baihu shook his big head. "That's different, that's different." Suzaku also said at this time, "It is indeed the same." Lin Muyu was curious about the difference. "Can you elaborate on it?" Juke said, "I'll tell you later, let's do business first." They arrived, and in the dim starry sky, there was a drop of dark blood floating there. The blood is very small, only as big as a fist, and is not even comparable to a drop of blood from some starry sky beasts. The blood has restrained all atmosphere, has no taste, and no luster, and blends almost perfectly with the starry sky. Even with the undead vision, one cannot see the special features of blood. The same is true for the eye of the soul. As long as the distance exceeds 1,000 meters, it is already difficult to detect. No wonder I can't find it. It's really secretive. Lin Muyu also had to be convinced. The Black Blood world was a big world after all, and it did have extraordinary means. Fortunately, the big world also has countermeasures, and the White Tiger's bloodline Soul Chaser can find them. Suzaku asked, "How is the situation inside?" Baihu said, "There are quite a few people inside. I counted, there are 2 holy lords, more than a dozen from the other side realm, and the others are just some little guys. There are probably dozens of divine lords and the like." Suzaku turned to look at Lin Muyu. "Do you do it or should I do it?" Lin Muyu said, "I'll do it, you guys have a rest." Baihu stretched his body and said, "Okay, I just woke up and I haven't recovered my energy yet." He said he was being lazy so openly, and Baihu was indeed very thick-skinned. Lin Muyu tapped his finger, and the hell of bones emerged silently, covering the black blood. The evil spirits from hell rushed out and opened their mouths to bite. At the same time, the river of hellfire boiled and rolled up huge waves, directly sucking the black blood into the river of fire. The evil spirits in hell eat everything. After a few mouthfuls, it explodes blackly and loudly. The space in the black blood collapsed, and countless practitioners of the black blood world were blown out of the black blood. But they have been surrounded and devoured by the hell of bones, and their fate has long been doomed. The people in the black blood realm were struggling and roaring, and Zun led the other shore realm to resist wildly. But in the face of endless evil spirits from hell, their resistance seemed so unbearable. It is not difficult to deal with the remaining power of the black blood world, even if it is half a step to the supreme. It is not afraid. The real trouble is finding them. They are like bed bugs, hiding very deep. Now with the help of White Tiger, the black blood world will have nowhere to hide. Baihu looked at the hell of bones and said, "This technique of yours is very powerful. It actually contains the original power." Suzaku said, "It is a fusion of world-class original fire. It would be strange if it is not strong." Baihu's eyes widened. "My dear, you are so lucky. You can get all the world-class original fire seeds. In the past, those deities would fight for the same original fire seeds." Lin Moyu asked, "Senior Baihu deserves the award. I'm just lucky." Baihu shook his head. No. The original fire, the power of time and space, can no longer be simply described as luck. Even the old man Xuanwu is not so lucky." Suzaku said, "Indeed, no matter how good luck is, there is a limit. Sometimes it's not just luck." Just like the Time Heavenly Lord and the Space Heavenly Lord at that time, they both wanted to understand each other's laws and form the calendar of time and space. But neither of them succeeded, and in the end they had no choice but to give up. Lin Moyu asked, "Is it so difficult?" Baihu interrupted, "It's not a question of whether it's difficult or not, it's that there are many limitations. The laws of time and space are very special, and the power of time and space is even more special. I don't know the specifics. It's just that it's difficult to fuse together." Suzaku said, "He is right. Among the many laws, there are several laws that are very special. Time, space, fate, cause and effect, these laws are all related to the boundary sea. We don't know the specific reasons." Baihu continued what Suzaku said, "It's just special anyway. You can control the power of time and space. I can only say that you are a monster, a real monster corpse." After clearing the hidden spots in the black blood realm, Lin Moyu opened the door to space again and headed towards the Xuanwu battlefield. Suzaku said, "Based on our experience, people from the other two black blood realms already know about our actions. They may be prepared, but we have to be careful. The black blood realm has their special communication method, and their actions here must have also aroused the vigilance of the other two hiding spots. They will definitely be prepared and waiting for their arrival. Baihu didn't care. So what if you are prepared? So what if they can get a few supremes? I will kill them in one breath." Suzaku said, "Don't talk nonsense. Many of the methods of the black blood realm are still troublesome." Baihu said, "Don't worry, it's just talk. It's not like I haven't fought with them before, and I haven't seen any methods. There are many strange methods in the black blood world, which have caused human beings to suffer losses in the past. Even Tianzuan has been involved in them. In the end, although Tianzuan's strength was 300 and he suppressed the black blood realm, his methods were still hard to guard against." Lin Moyu suddenly realized a question. "Do you think the people from the black blood realm are hiding in the Xuanwu battlefield for any other purpose?" Baihu responded instinctively, "Just hiding. What else can it do?" Suzaku fell into deep thought because of Lin Moyu's words. "You mean, what do they want to do to Xuanwu?" Lin Moyu said, "It's just a guess. Xuanwu has the ability to purify. If I were them, the first person to solve would be Xuanwu." Baihu snorted, "Even if we fall into a deep sleep, it's not that easy to deal with. Especially that guy Xuanwu. That guy is the thickest among the four of us. We want to deal with him. Unless the Heavenly Lord in the Black Blood Realm takes action, the Peak Supreme One will not be enough." Lin Moyu is not as optimistic as Baihu. There are many things that are not determined by historical levels. I can't say how many methods the Black Blood world has. Suzaku said in a deep voice, don't be too optimistic. Some things are really hard to say. Don't forget that the Black Blood realm has the ability to pollute blood and manipulate blood. Suzaku's words made Baihu's face change slightly, but he still said stubbornly, anyway, I don't think Xuanwu is heavy. It's best to have nothing to do. The door to space opened again and again, and they arrived at the Xuanwu star territory as quickly as possible. According to Baihu's bloodline soul pursuit, the final location is very close to the center of the Xuanwu star territory. The starry sky here is dim and filled with a special atmosphere. Suzaku frowned as soon as he left the space gate. They did attack Xuanwu. White Tiger shouted, then what are we waiting for? Let's go. When I say it, I feel more relieved than anyone else, but when I do it, I feel more anxious than anyone else. One person, one tiger and one bird rushed towards the central area as quickly as possible. Now they even put aside the Black Blood realm and went to see Xuanwu first. The dark aura became more and more intense, and bloodlines appeared, crossing the starry sky, like a big net, flying towards the central area. When they were still tens of billions of kilometers away, a roar resounded across the starry sky. Baihu's expression changed. Xuanwu is awake. Suzaku said, Xuanwu must have been stimulated, so he woke up early. Lin Moyu opened the Eye of the Dead and saw Xuanwu's soul flame. The soul flame is very blazing, indicating that Xuanwu's aura is very strong, but there is a strange touch of blood in the soul flame. The blood color was not strong, but it enveloped Xuanwu's soul like a big net, as if it wanted to swallow him up. Lin Moyu realized something was wrong. Something happened to Xuanwu. Hurry up. The white tiger roared angrily, get on my back. Suzaku and Lin Moyu jumped up without hesitation, and the white tiger was swept up by strong winds, which distorted the space. The white tiger teleported like the law of space, crossing tens of billions of kilometers in an instant, and arrived at a place only tens of millions of kilometers away from Xuanwu. The place is filled with blood, and a large network of bloodlines has firmly surrounded Xuanwu. Xuanwu struggled desperately in the big bloody net, but the big bloody net got tighter and tighter, and Xuanwu couldn't break free. Suzaku's eyes narrowed violently, and he actually still had the history of his origin. The origin of the Black Blood world was shattered and turned into many parts. No one knows exactly how many copies there are. The Black Blood realm has been looking for the scattered source power for so many years, and they don't know how many they have recovered. I launched the Black Blood Frenzy before and used 10 sources of power, but I didn't expect it to be here again. The power of Xuanwu constantly purifies the origin of Black Blood, but the origin of Black Blood is very strong, and the confrontation between the two sides is fierce. Baihu whispered, something was wrong with Xuanwu's state. Lin Moyu immediately said, the soul of the white tiger is contaminated. Suzaku's heart skipped a beat. No, Xuanwu can purify the dark power, but it cannot purify one's own soul. Xuanwu's weakness is here. He cannot pour out his soul. The soul was polluted, and Xuanwu's purifying power was much weaker than usual. In the confrontation with the power of the Black Blood world, he fell into a disadvantage. According to Lin Moyu's judgment, as long as this situation continues for hundreds of years, Xuanwu will be completely contaminated, turning from the original divine beast into a puppet of the Black Blood world. At that time, the origin of the Great World will be damaged again, and even the Black Blood world can follow Xuanwu to find the origin of the Great World, and then pollute the origin of the Great World. The calculations of the Black Blood world are very vicious, and their various methods and ultimate goals all point to the origin of the world. A powerful aura rose, and 2 men in black appeared in the starry sky. Their clothes are the same, their weapons are the same, and their auras are almost exactly the same. Both of them are half-G Supreme. Lin Moyu murmured, 2 half-step Supremes, the Black Blood world is really hidden deep. White Tiger snorted coldly, watch me bite them to death. At this time, the 2 half-step Supremes took out a piece of origin crystal and put it into their mouths at the same time. Their auras soared and almost reached the supreme state in an instant. The power of the origin lingers throughout the body, not much worse than that of White Tiger and Suzaku. At this time, behind them, several powerful auras rose up, and 4 saints appeared at the same time. The 4 saints merged 2 by 2, changing from 4 to 2. After the fusion, they were also half-stepped to Supreme. The 2 half-step Supremes were temporarily promoted to Supremes by virtue of their original power. The 4 saints still used the fusion technique and became 2 half-step Supremes. In terms of combat power, it has surpassed the 3 of Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu said, 2 seniors, do you have any problem holding them back? Baihu said nothing, of course it's no problem. I don't take this kind of rubbish seriously at all. Suzaku asked, what are you going to do? Lin Moyu said, I may have a way to help Xuanwu purify his soul, but I can't be disturbed. Baihu immediately said, are you serious? Suzaku did not doubt Lin Moyu's words. Okay, let's deal with them. L.1 You go rescue Xuanwu. Lin Moyu said, it won't take long, just 1 hour is enough. Baihu said with assurance, go ahead, I promise no one will bother you. Lin Moyu nodded slightly, stepped forward, and teleported out to Baihu's side. He rushed into the bloodline alone, and countless bloodlines immediately covered Lin Moyu like a net. Gray mist rose up from Lin Moyu's body, and the bone hell came out in response, instantly surrounding the bloody net. The hell of bones shrouded the bloody net together with Xuanwu. The evil spirits from hell rushed out and began to gnaw at the bloody net. On the other side, Suzaku and White Tiger took action at the same time, and the power of the source rolled in, and fierce winds and flames swept across the starry sky. The bloody sword light danced with blood, and the strong man from the black blood world swung his sword like rain, cutting through the wind and fire, and the 2 sides fought together. The starry sky roared, and the law and rule space collapsed at the same time. After 1,000,000 years, the battle in the Supreme Realm was once again staged in the starry sky. The battle in the Supreme Realm is extremely terrifying, especially because it contains the power of the Source, which increases the intensity of the battle to an unimaginable level. The aftermath swept across decades, and the starry sky was shattered. Supreme, you are so strong. This was Lin Moyu's first personal experience of a battle between the Supreme Realms. In the aftermath, Jin Ping cut his bones into pieces. Fortunately, Suzaku and Baihu blocked most of the impact for Lin Moyu, and the bone held on tenaciously. They said that they would not disturb Lin Moyu, and that Lin Moyu should just concentrate on doing his own thing. The blood-colored net is very strong, and it contains a large amount of original power from the black blood world. It is also very difficult for the Hellzone spirits to gnaw at it. Lin Moyu came to Xuanwu. My name is Lin Moyu, from the human race, and I am a friend of Suzaku and White Tiger. I know. Xuanwu's voice was thick and deep, and at the same time he was obviously suppressing pain. It must be uncomfortable to have your soul corroded, but fortunately Xuanwu is still awake. Xuanwu saw the arrival of Suzaku and Baihu and understood Lin Moyu's identity. In ancient times, their 4 original tribes of divine beasts and humans were also comrades fighting side by side. Lin Moyu said, I have a way to help you purify your soul, but the process may be a little painful. Xuanwu's voice was still calm and deep. I'm not afraid of pain. Lin Moyu nodded, then let go of your soul world and let me in. Good. Without any doubt, Xuanwu chose to believe Lin Moyu. This kind of trust comes from Suzaku White Tiger. The soul world is the most important part of a living being. How can it be let go so easily? Lin Moyu entered the Xuanwu soul world. Xuanwu's soul world was vast and simple. Originally, there should be nothing in his soul world, only his soul existed. Now the soul world is full of thin blood-colored threads. The blood threads are densely intertwined and occupy most of the soul world, leaving not many gaps. The soul body is also wrapped with a large number of blood threads, and the blood threads are constantly eroding Xuanwu. Lin Moyu looked at it carefully for a while and knew that Xuanwu's condition was not very good. The surface of its soul had been eroded by bloodlines. He can no longer clear out these bloodlines by himself. The arrival of Lin Moyu immediately caused a bloody reaction. A large amount of bloodlines rushed towards Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu stretched out his hand, and flames suddenly ignited in his palm. The world-burning fire burned blazingly, surrounding the soul. When the bloodline touched the world-burning fire, it was immediately burned to pieces. The power of the world-burning fire is so powerful that it can even refine the entire world, just a few bloodlines. Seeing this scene, Xuanwu's eyes clearly flashed with light. He knew that Lin Moyu was not lying and that he could really deal with the bloodline. Lin Moyu brought the world-burning fire to burn a path in the soul world where bloodlines were intertwined, and came to Xuanwu. It will hurt. Lin Moyu warned her one last time. Xuanwu shouted softly, I admit it. Lin Moyu no longer hesitates. The longer the time drags on, the worse it will be for Xuanwu. The world-burning fire surged up and instantly surrounded Xuanwu's soul, cutting off all the bloodlines wrapped around the soul. All the bloodlines of retreat were cut off, leaving them without any support. Xuanwu let out a low cry just by taking this step, which seemed very comfortable. Then he spread out a trace of flame to touch Xuanwu's soul. Lin Moyu was extremely careful. The world-burning fire was too strong and might really burn Xuanwu's soul. Fortunately, Lin Moyu had the experience of self-immolation and knew how to control his strength. The fire that burned the world shrunk into flames, burning over Xuanwu's soul bit by bit, only burning the surface, not deeply. Wherever the world-burning fire passed, the bloodlines collapsed, and at the same time, part of Xuanwu's soul collapsed along with the bloodlines. His soul was burned. Xuanwu kept trembling and groaning. Advertisement. Lin Moyu asked, How are you? Xuanwu suppressed the pain and said, It's exciting, keep going. Stimulate. I'm afraid it's just joy and suffering, comfort yourself. No one's soul has been so traumatized that it can be described as irritating. I have experienced this kind of pain myself. I only burned a small mark and I grinned in pain. Xuanwu has burned my entire soul, and the pain I have to endure is many times stronger than my own. Lin Moyu controlled the flames as carefully as possible to cause no harm to Xuanwu's soul. Soon the bloodline in an area was cleared, and a gap appeared in the entire dense network. Similarly, a small gap appeared in Xuanwu's soul. The gap is insignificant, but it is already a big trauma to the soul. Lin Moyu stopped, pointed his finger, and the white air flew out, and the power of life fell on Xuanwu's soul. The burned wound was moisturized and began to recover immediately. Cool! Xuanwu suddenly roared, with excitement in his voice. His voice spread from the soul to the outside world, and the fighting Suzaku and White Tiger were stunned for a moment. Baihu shouted, Damn it, how could Xuanwu be so excited? Suzaku smiled and said, It seems something good has happened. Xuanwu's temperament is as calm as his body, and he rarely suffers from mood swings. What can make him so excited must be a good thing. They all knew that Lin Moyu should have done something to make Xuanwu so excited. It seems that Lin Moyu's method worked. The two fought more fiercely, with wind and fire roaring, covering the practitioners in the Black Blood world. The people in the Black Blood realm also heard the Xuanwu roar, and they began to worry, but no matter how they attacked, they could not break through the encirclement set up by the Suzaku and White Tigers. After waiting for a few seconds, the force of life had already healed the previously injured area to 77%. Lin Moyu started burning other places and selling his previous work. In this way, every time you burn an area, stop for a moment, use the power of life to treat it, and repeat it alternately. The bloodlines on Xuanwu's body became less and less, and Lin Moyu 627 became more skilled and faster. Xuanwu was in pain and happiness, sometimes in pain and sometimes in relief, a world of ice and fire. Half a day later, the bloodline on Xuanwu's soul was finally cleared. Lin Moyu used a large amount of vitality to wrap Xuanwu, making Xuanwu feel extremely comfortable. Lin Moyu looked at the bloodline still densely packed in his soul and snorted coldly. The world-burning fire suddenly exploded and swept through his entire soul. Xuanwu's soul world roared incessantly, and in an instant, all the bloodlines were burned away. The soul world became clear, and the Black Blood Realm's attempt to corrode Xuanwu completely failed. Xuanwu's deep voice sounded, "Thank you." Lin Moyu waved his hand, "You're welcome, I'll leave first and you can take a rest. This is the time to practice Xia Yuan thoroughly." After saying that, Lin Moyu left Xuanwu's soul world, and the Bone Hell was still competing with the original power of the Black Blood world. The power of the source is very strong, and the bloodline is difficult to break. The evil spirit from hell has been chewing for a long time, and most of it is still left. However, the skeleton hell still has the upper hand. As long as the skeleton hell is given enough time, these lines can be cleared away. Lin Moyu is not in a hurry, just take his time. He sent a message to Suzaku White Tiger, "Senior Xuanwu is fine." After the two heard this, they roared at the same time and became even more excited. After waiting for a while, Xuanwu, who had been silent for a long time, finally opened his eyes. The roar shook the starry sky, the endless ocean appeared out of thin air, and the power of the source rolled like huge waves. The endless ocean contains the origin of the world and has the power of purification. Wherever it passes, the clear starry sky is purified. All the forces that did not belong to the big world were washed away by the ocean and disappeared completely. The black-blooded man who was fighting fiercely with the Suzaku White Tiger quickly began to retreat, trying to escape. They knew that the operation had failed, Xuanwu had recovered, and they would lose this battle. Want to escape? There's no door. The Suzaku and the White Tiger roared at the same time, flames swept across the starry sky, and beyond the flames there was an endless violent wind, giving the black-blooded man no chance to escape. The ocean was rolling in, and Xuanwu appeared on the ocean. He walked on the waves and roared again and again. The ocean exploded in the starry sky, covering an area of several light years, almost instantly, boundless, completely blocking the Black Blood Man's retreat. The White Tiger joined the battle group and rushed towards the black-blooded people. The black-blooded people seemed to feel despair, and they knew that they could no longer escape. The two half-step supremes approached each other, took out the source crystals in their mouths, and touched the source crystals together. At the same time, the two people turned into dirty blood and entered the original crystal. The terrifying power began to boil in the starry sky, and Lin Moyu's heart skipped a beat. They are going to self-destruct. The source crystal self-destructs, and this power is probably more terrifying than the supreme self-destruction. If the self-destruction is really successful, everything within a light year may be erased. Xuanwu made a low voice with deep disdain, "It's useless, your ancestors did this before, it's useless. Purify it, garbage." As he roared, the ocean rolled up into turbulent waves, the original power increased sharply, and the time and starry sky completely enveloped his subjects. The Suzaku and the White Tiger retreated at the same time, and the White Tiger shouted loudly, "We will retreat first and leave it to you." Suzaku patted Baihu on the head and said, "Why is there so much nonsense? Let's go." At the same time, he said to Lin Moyu, "Back off." Lin Moyu did not hesitate and immediately followed, and the three of them were out of the tens of billions of kilometers in an instant. Boom! With a loud noise, the source crystal self-destructed inside Wanyang. Xuanwu roared repeatedly, and the power of the source broke out again, suppressing the explosion. This is a contest that belongs to the origin. The origin power of Xuanwu purifies all powers that are not in the big world. Baihu said with disdain, "If you want to self-destruct in front of Xuanwu, there is no way. I don't think about how many supreme beings have self-destructed in front of him before, but the result is like farting and disappearing with a pop." Suzaku said, "Xuanwu has the strongest defense among the four of us. It also has the ability to purify foreign objects, and the power of self-destruction can also purify it." Lin Moyu nodded slightly. It was indeed true. The self-destruction that was supposed to sweep across light years ended up affecting billions of kilometers of starry sky and was completely suppressed. Xuanwu's defensive power is not only his own defense, but also the defense of the larger world. It's a pity that such a powerful origin beast cannot purify his own soul. There is no perfection in the world, everything has flaws. Xuanwu can purify all things, but cannot purify his own soul. This is his flaw. All the power of the black blood world in the starry sky was purified, and the white tiger roared, "We are." He chased the soul along the bloodline and flew towards the hiding place in the black blood world. The distance is not far, it only takes a while to get there. There is also a drop of black blood floating in the starry sky. The very inconspicuous black blood contains the massacre of the black blood world. Without saying a word, Lin Moyu directly used the bone hell to swallow up the black blood. The black blood exploded, and the black blood man hiding inside screamed in agony while surrounded by the hell of bones. Suzaku said, "There is one more thing. After solving it, let Xuanwu purify all the dark void." Baihu said, "The last one is outside the territory, so we can't let him go." Suzaku said, "Don't worry, do everything one by one, they won't be able to escape." After a while, Xuanwu flew over on the waves and said to Lin Moyu, "Thank you." Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Senior, you are too polite. I just did what I should do." Baihu joked, Xuanwu, so you can't sleep too hard when you sleep. If it weren't for us, you would have almost become Xuanwu in the black blood world." Xuanwu shook his head, "No, if things are irreversible, I will blow myself up." Baihu likes to joke, but Xuanwu is extremely serious. The two are in sharp contrast. Suzaku said, "Don't waste time, let's go to the next stop." Lin Moyu immediately opened the door to space, and the three Japanese and human beasts headed towards the dark void nonstop. The dark void at the junction of the Qinglong Star Territory and the Suzaku Star Territory, Lin Moyu and Suzaku came here once before, but found nothing. Now that we know the hidden form of the Black Blood Realm, it is indeed difficult to discover. There is no light in the dark void, only endless darkness. In this situation, it would be difficult to find it without the blood of the white tiger chasing the soul. Entering the dark void, the three-headed beasts all showed disgust. The power of the black blood world here is too strong. Lin Moyu said, "We all say that the dark void is the scar left by the black blood world in the big world." Xuanwu's voice was low. When faced with the black blood craze, the origins of the two big worlds collided. The origins of the black blood world were torn apart, while the origins of the big world were damaged. As the original divine beasts, we will return part of our original power to the big world and fall into a deep sleep. I didn't expect that such an area would form. As he spoke, Xuanwu exploded with his original power and rolled up the endless ocean. Wherever the ocean passes, darkness melts and starlight reoccupies the space. Baihu said, "Purify slowly, let's go to the black blood realm first." As he spoke, he took Lin Moyu's digestion and flew towards the black blood realm. It was still an inconspicuous drop of black blood, only the size of a fist, hidden in the darkness and impossible to detect. Neither the eyes of the soul nor the vision of the undead can detect abnormalities. Even if Lin Moyu conducted a blanket search, he still missed them. It can only be said that the hidden methods of the black blood realm are truly amazing. There was no resistance here, and the black blood realm's methods seemed to have been exhausted. Lin Moyu directly used the bone hell to devour it. Seeing the black-blooded man struggling and dying in the hell of bones, Lin Moyu felt neither joy nor sadness. At this point, he could finally breathe a sigh of relief and said, "Finally it's all done." Baihu said, "There is another place outside the territory, which is a bit far away. After Xuanwu has purified the dark void, we can go there." Zhuke said, "About money, there's no rush, I think we should go find Qinglong." Baihu asked doubtfully, "What are you looking for him for? Do you want to wake him up too? In addition to fighting and killing, what else can that guy do?" Suzaku glanced at him. Suzaku's eyes looked like he was looking at an idiot. He obviously didn't want to explain to this guy. Baihu said angrily, "Suzaku, why are you looking so straight?" Suzaku said, "There are some things that are difficult to explain to you." Xuanwu flew over. His eyes were a little serious. I feel the origin of the big world, because the situation in the world is very bad. Baihu's attention was immediately diverted. By the way, you haven't told me yet what happened in these years and what happened to the big world. I also feel that something is wrong with the big world. Zhuke said, don't worry, we'll talk about it together when we meet Qinglong. Baihu angrily snorted, it's your appetite. Suzaku ignored him, making it clear that this was it. What could you do to me? Xuanwu has a calm temperament and is not in a hurry. Wherever the ocean passes, the darkness recedes and the starry sky returns to clarity. The dark void is too big. No matter how fast Xuanwu is, it will still take a long time. Baihu was too impatient and couldn't wait any longer. Under his nagging and urging, Suzaku and Xuanwu had no choice but to suspend the purification and go to the Qinglong battlefield first. Anyway, there is no need to worry about the purification. I will let Xuanwu come over to purify later. The door to space opened again and again, and 1 person and 3 beasts soon entered the Qinglong battlefield. Baihu clicked his tongue and said, the space gate is really convenient, but it's a pity that your realm is still a little behind. When you reach the Holy Lord, you can cross 100,000 light years at a time. When you reach the half-step limit, you can cross millions of light years at a time. That's fast. Lin Moyu remained calm, but secretly said in his heart, it turns out that Luoshin is already half a supreme being. At that time, Luoshin opened the door of space and sent himself millions of light years away. At that time, I did not know enough and thought that Luoshin was a holy deity. Unexpectedly, Luoshin has already reached the half-step supreme level. Lin Moyu asked, if you become a supreme being, wouldn't the space gate be able to travel across tens of millions of light years in an instant and directly reach the edge of the world? The big world is only as big as tens of millions of light years. Even if it is a little larger, it won't be much more. 133. The distance between the other shore, the saint, and the half-step supreme increases by 10 times each time. Based on this calculation, the space gate of the supreme realm can indeed span tens of millions of light years. Suzaku said, no, the space gate also has a limit. 1 million light years is the limit. Even the space heavenly lord back then could only cross 2 million light years in an instant with his own original power. Lin Moyu said, it turns out to be like this. The gate of space actually has limits. Xuanwu's deep voice sounded, everything has a limit. Some things seem infinite, but we haven't found its limit. It's not that it has no limit, but that we can't find it, or we have reached our own limit. Baihu shouted, Xuanwu, you have been sleeping for so many years and you still speak like this. Can you say something that others can understand? Xuanwu said, it's hard for me to explain to you. The same words as Suzaku were thrown to Baihu, which made Baihu scream in anger. Lin Moyu felt that Xuanwu's theory made sense. It was like an ordinary person who saw a mountain that was too high to climb and thought it was the highest mountain in the world. He may not have thought that there might be higher mountains besides the mountains. Ordinary people only see their own limits, but they don't actually see their real limits. Lin Moyu said, I think maybe this is not the limit of the space gate, but our own limit. Suzaku thought for a moment, what you said makes sense. I hope you can see higher mountains. Xuanwu said, if you can get through this, maybe you have a chance. Baihu looked confused, what are you talking about? Can you please say something that normal people can understand? Suzaku Xuanwu turned his head and ignored this guy at the same time. Baihu's head was really speechless. Entering the central area of Qinglong battlefield, Lin Moyu saw the last original beast, Qinglong. Qinglong's whole body is glowing with green light, and its appearance is almost the same as that of the Dragon Clan's divine dragon. It sleeps quietly in the starry sky without moving, with a faint green light blooming on its body. The original breath has not been emitted. They are hundreds of millions of miles apart and cannot feel any breath. This is different from mythical beasts such as Suzaku. There are no other behemoths in the starry sky here, but when you look across an area of hundreds of millions of kilometers, you can see many fragments floating in the starry sky. The fragments exude the aura of the God realm. They are dead and not rotten. They are all the remains of the corpses of the giant beasts in the starry sky. They died here, crushed by invisible forces. Suzaku said, within 100 million kilometers, there is Qinglong's killing field. We can't get through. Among the 4 original beasts, Qinglong has the strongest combat power, and it is extremely powerful, much higher than Suzaku and the others. Suzaku and others are equivalent to the Supreme, and with their original power, they can be comparable to the Peak Supreme. Qinglong was able to confront Tianzuan head-on, but among their 4 beasts, Qinglong was the most seriously injured, and he didn't know how much he had recovered. Lin Moyu asked, how to wake him up? Xuanwu said, I should be able to. Suzaku also nodded, Jag, and said, then be careful. If it doesn't work, come back and we'll find a way. Baihu said, get ready, I'll give you a ride. Xuanwu shrank his whole body and entered the turtle shell. Then he turned his turtle shell towards Qinglong. The white tiger whipped up a strong wind, and the roaring wind pushed Xuanwu towards Qinglong. With the help of white tiger, turtle shell is much faster than usual. The method of awakening the Qinglong is similar to that of the white tiger, requiring a certain degree of stimulation. As soon as the turtle shell entered Qinglong's domain, it immediately let out an ear-splitting roar. The stars in the sky are swaying, and the space is constantly rolling and shaking like ocean waves. The turtle shell emits water light and resists attacks from the killing field. The power of the killing field is very strong, and the speed of the turtle shell has been decreasing. At this time, the white tiger roared again. He was wrapped in the strong wind and rushed over. Along the direction of the turtle shell, he hit the turtle shell accurately for the second time, giving the turtle shell a boost. The turtle shell accelerated again and rushed towards the green dragon, while the white tiger immediately returned. Lin Moyu saw Baihu being attacked, with countless blood spurting from his body. When Baihu came back, his body was covered with wounds and he looked very ferocious and terrifying. Lin Moyu used his life force to treat Baihu, and Baihu's injuries recovered quickly. Baihu shouted excitedly, it should be no problem now, darling, this guy Qinglong's power is really terrifying. Suzaku said, the original power of Qinglong is responsible for killing, so it is certainly powerful. Qinglong's power does not leak out, it is concentrated in the field. The more so, the more powerful it is. The turtle shell slowed down again in the endless attack. At this time, Xuanwu exploded with its power, and streams of water pushed him forward. He couldn't stop. Once he stopped, all his previous efforts would be wasted. Lin Moyu and the other 3 were also a little nervous, hoping that Xuanwu would be successful. Finally, driven by waves again and again, Xuanwu finally came to Qinglong. Along with Xuanwu's roar, the waves suddenly became fierce, and his speed suddenly accelerated, hitting Qinglong like a meteor. Green light exploded from Qinglong's body, and Xuanwu flew away drunkenly. Xuanwu was blown thousands of miles away, and then left far away until he left Qinglong's domain. Did it succeed? Baihu said blankly. Zhuke was not sure at this time. Xuanwu did hit Qinglong, but it was hard to say whether he could wake Qinglong up. Lin Moyu used his undead vision and discovered that Qinglong's soul flame had changed. The originally peaceful soul flame began to become active, and this change was also sensed by Lin Moyu. Success, Qinglong has begun to wake up. Baihu said, I don't even know, how do you know? Lin Moyu said, I can feel Qinglong's soul becoming active. Suzaku said, your soul is very sharp. Lin Moyu nodded, his soul is indeed very keen, far superior to others. Suzaku continued, it is a good thing to have a sharp soul, especially if you want to become a supreme or even a heavenly lord. A sharp soul has great advantages. Those with sharp souls may not necessarily become heavenly lords, but heavenly lords have sharp souls. The gods call this sensitivity of the soul spiritual awareness. Lingjue, Lin Moyu wrote down these two words. From ancient times to the present, the human race has experienced catastrophes one after another, and many information has been lost. The existence of the four divine beasts such as Suzaku can indeed bring a lot of information from ancient times. Xuanwu flew back. Its turtle shell was covered with scars, but fortunately it was hard enough and could not hold up. Qinglong is indeed powerful. Just the killing field when sleeping is enough to block most of the supreme beings. Suzaku's nirvana, White Tiger's violent wind, and Green Dragon's domain, so the Black Blood world finally chose Xuanwu. Only Xuanwu was the easiest to approach, but unfortunately their plan ended in failure. Xuanwu asked, "How was it? Was it successful?" Suzaku nodded, "It has been successful." Xuanwu hummed, "It's good if it succeeds. If it doesn't, I'll do it again." Qinglong's soul became more and more active, and his soul aura began to emit, and everyone felt it now. After waiting for a while, Qinglong's body suddenly started to move. The body that was 1,000,000 meters long suddenly straightened up and stretched into a straight line, as if it was stretching, and then shrunk again. Qinglong was very quiet and did not make a sound. He turned to look at Suzaku and the others. He put away his domain, his huge body flashed in the starry sky, and appeared in front of several people. At this time, he went from 100,000 meters to only 10 meters, about the same height as the Suzaku White Tiger. "Why are you all awake?" Qinglong's voice was crisp and even sounded pleasant. Lin Moyu could feel that Qinglong's aura was still a little weak, and his injuries seemed to have not fully recovered. After 1,000,000 years, the injuries have not recovered. You can imagine how serious the injuries Qinglong suffered back then. Suzaku said, "Something happened in the big world, and we woke up." Qinglong asked, "What's the matter?" "I can feel that the origin of the world seems to be very weak and the situation is very bad." Baihu looked at Lin Moyu. "Now you can tell me, please tell me in detail, the more detailed the better." Lin Moyu hummed and told everything that happened after the ancient war. He spoke for a long time, and the four original beasts listened quietly. Sometimes Baihu wanted to interrupt, but Suzaku stopped him with his eyes. As Lin Moyu narrates, the auras of the four mythical beasts are constantly changing. Especially when it comes to the story of how the human race was almost wiped out 100,000 years ago, the murderous intention rises even more. Until Lin Moyu finished speaking, the atmosphere was still very depressing. Suzaku, Xuanwu, and Qinglong were all thinking. Only Baihu looked left and right, wondering what he was thinking. Qinglong slowly opened his eyes. "I didn't expect that the human race would encounter such a catastrophe. It's really not easy. However, I don't understand why the origin of the world has reached this point." Baihu said, "Don't think about it if you don't understand it. Although you were pretending to be thinking just now, I know very well that you can't think of anything in your head." Qinglong looked at him quietly. "Is your skin itchy?" Baihu raised his head. "The truth hurts the most. Although you don't like to hear it, what I said is the truth." Qinglong snorted. His tail suddenly whipped out, and with a bang, the white tiger was whipped away and disappeared. "You know you still say it. You're mentally ill," Qinglong said with disdain and a little arrogance. The white tiger flew back quickly. He was not injured. There was a branch village under Qinglong. Qinglong warned, "If you continue to tell the truth, you will never be able to come back from the beating next time." Baihu snorted, "I am too powerful to yield. If you want to use violence against me, there is no way." "Okay, stop arguing," Suzaku suddenly said, and he stopped thinking. Xuanwu also stopped at this time and said slowly, "The whole thing is probably clear. After the black blood frenzy, the four of us fell into a deep sleep. The origin of the world was damaged and it is difficult to recover. Those heavenly lords went to the boundary sea and knew that during their life cycle, the world would never collide with other worlds. Unable to absorb the origin of the black blood world, and unable to obtain the origin from other worlds, the origin of the great world cannot be restored, and they will not be able to advance to Taoism. Suzaku added, originally, those heavenly lords were counting on defeating the Black Blood World, seizing the origin of the Black Blood World just like before, sublimating the Great World again, and paving the way for them to be promoted to Tao Lords. No one would have thought that the origin of the Black Blood World is very special and cannot be absorbed at all. Not only was it unable to be absorbed, it also severely damaged the world. Those Tianzuan's various calculations and plans all ended in failure. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Lin Moyu's heart skipped a beat when he heard this, and he blurted out, isn't it a coincidence that the big world and the Black Blood World meet? Xuanwu laughed, there are so many coincidences. After learning that the Great World could not be restored and they could not be promoted to Taoist, those Tianzuan left. Their departure has taken away part of the origin of the Great World, causing the Greater World to suffer even more injuries. As soon as they left, the Great World began to decline. During the war, all divine paths were cut off. It would be difficult for a supreme being to appear in the Great World. The Heavenly Lord would not even think about it, and no one could repair the Great World. Xuanwu's voice gradually became colder, and Lin Moyu became more and more frightened as he listened. The secret of the big world has finally been revealed. The reason why the big world has become like this is inseparable from those heavenly beings. It is the heavenly lords who change the trajectory of the world and actively collide with the Black Blood World. The Tianzins want to use the Black Blood World to sublimate the world and pave the way for them to be promoted to Dao Zun. It's a pity that they miscalculated, which not only ruined the possibility of the sublimation of the world, but also cut off their path to the Taoist master. After knowing that they could only wait for death in the big world, these deities left, taking with them the insufficient source of the world. This made the world worse, and from then on the world began to decline. The scope continues to expand, but resources cannot be regenerated, power is getting weaker and weaker, and collapse will happen sooner or later. There is only a four-sided battlefield, and because of the existence of the four original beasts, new resources will be born in it. Everything is developing in the worst direction, and in the end it is impossible to stop. In addition to a lot of cause and effect, the world will be in this state now, and part of it is caused by those heavenly beings. Those heavenly lords, as people of the great world, ended up abandoning the great world. It's really ridiculous. Lin Moyu said softly, his tone full of wind. Suzaku said, actually, you can't blame them. When you get to Tianzuan, you can't get in. That feeling is understandable. A heavenly master once told me that for existences at their level, there is no way to advance, which is an extremely terrifying despair. So they will try their best to get the possibility of promotion. As for this world, they also have nostalgia, but compared to promotion, the world can be abandoned. Xuanwu also added, it's not that the world can be abandoned. In order to get promoted, there is nothing that cannot be abandoned. There is also a heavenly lord who said that if they can become Taoist lords, they will come back to save the world. Lin Moyu said with disdain, after leaving the big world, can they still be promoted to Taoism? Able. Qinglong suddenly spoke and gave Lin Moyu a positive answer. Xuanwu also said, it is indeed possible, but it is too difficult. It is much more difficult than in the big world. When the world has completely lost hope, they have no choice but to leave. Suzaku looked at Lin Moyu, do you hate them? Lin Moyu shook his head, I don't hate, I don't have the right to hate. Because I am not a heavenly lord, I can feel their despair. I don't know if I will make the same choice as them when I get to Tianzuan. Not now, but what about in 100,000 years or 200,000 years? I really don't know if my thoughts will change when I face death. What Lin Moyu said is true. Time can change a lot. No one can guarantee that your future self will have the same thoughts as your current self. Lin Moyu did not blame those Tianzins. Everyone has a different stance and position, so the choices they make will naturally be different. He was not qualified to blame others, and he could not guarantee what choice he would make when he stood in that position. He can only say what decision he will make now. Lin Moyu is determined. Now he is trying every means to save the world and restore the world. Baihu listened for a long time and muttered, "What's the point of talking about ancient things? It's better to talk about the present and the future." Suzaku rarely refuted Baihu's words. It's really time to talk about the future. The four original beasts did not have much emotion about the fate of the human race. They belong to the big world, not to the human race. As long as the big world still exists, even if all the human race dies, they will not be too sad. In their eyes, there is no difference between the human race and those intelligent starry sky beasts. It's just that they once fought side by side with the Wu San San tribe, so the relationship between them and the human race is not bad. Xuanwu said, "I have awakened. I will purify the power left in the great world of black blood." Baihu said, "There are still some remnants of the black blood realm outside the territory. I will go over and deal with them. Actually, these are not the key to the problem. The key is that more than 1,200 years later, the thing called Dojie is about to arrive." According to what Mr. Lin said, although there will be no Tianzuan in that world, there will be no shortage of supremes and peak supremes. Now our situation is so bad. Xuanwu said, "Indeed, the world cannot withstand another impact. However, the arrival of Dojie is also an opportunity. It may be an opportunity for the big world to recover." Qinglong said, "In ancient times, I used to have Tianzuan-level combat power, but I no longer have it. There are still more than 1,000 years left, and I want to regain some strength." Qinglong returned most of his original power to the world back then, but his current combat power is no longer as good as Tianzuan. Not only him, but the combat power of the White Tiger Xian Yuan is even weaker than his. Although it is possible to fight against the Peak Supreme with the help of the Source, the fighting world is also a world and also has the power of the Source. In a real fight, against the top fighting world, except for Qinglong, the other three will win less and lose more. And there is no Supreme in the human race. In this state, Qinglong, as the top combat power, has 1 point of ability for every point of strength and winning chance. Xuanwu said, "I remember that many people traveled far away from the territory back then, and there seemed to be Supremes among them. There were also Supremes among those who retreated from the battlefield." Baihu said, "Even if there is a Supreme, what's the use? Their lifespan has long been exhausted. Even if they can be found, they are just corpses. Is it possible that you don't want the corpse to fight?" Lin Moyu's eyes suddenly lit up, and he thought of a possibility. Of course, corpses could be used for fighting. Not only can it be used to fight, but its combat power is stronger than before when it was alive. It can also self-destruct if it dies in battle again. Lin Moyu had many thoughts in his mind. At this time, Xu Qiue's eyes lit up, and he said to Xuanwu, "What do you mean, find the origins of those supreme beings?" Xuanwu nodded slowly, "Yes, after the death of those supreme beings, the world of rules will not necessarily dissipate. There will always be some original power left in the world of rules. Even if they dissipate, they may still gather their original history for their descendants. Outside the territory is not a good place. All kinds of things happen. Those supremes will definitely try every means to protect their descendants. It's not even impossible to leave the world of rules for future generations to live in." Suzaku asked, "If you find it, what are you going to do with it?" Xuanwu said, "Bring the origin back. If they agree, bring them back together. If they don't agree, then kill them." He said it very calmly, as if he was talking about something insignificant. The lives of human beings are indeed not worth mentioning in their eyes. To them, as long as they can save the world, it doesn't matter even if the human race is destroyed. Baihu said, "After we destroy those bugs in the black blood world, I will use the human blood to launch bloodline soul chasing and bring out all those guys outside the territory. There is still time, I will search one by one, and I can always find some origins. With the origin, our combat power can be restored a little." At this time, Baihu looked at Lin Moyu. "Boy Lin, I need the blood of the human race, and the stronger the better." The strongest among your human race is the half-step supreme. Boom! Lin Moyu was boiling with murderous intent and stared at Bai Hu with evil eyes. Bai Hu was startled. Boy Lin, what are you going to do? The other three origin beasts also looked at Lin Moyu in surprise, wondering what happened to Lin Moyu. When they talked about murder before, Lin Moyu didn't react at all. Lin Moyu whispered, that half-step supreme is my sister. Bai Hu was stunned on the spot, his mouth twitched a few times, and his voice softened on the spot. Well, I'm sorry, I don't know. Actually, I'm just kidding. Actually, I just want some blood, not too much. Lin Moyu said, how much blood do you want? Bai Hu laughs with you, just 2 drops of essence and blood a day will be enough. Lin Moyu stretched out his finger and forced out 2 drops of blood on the spot. Is this okay? 2 drops of blood essence floated in the starry sky, rippling out powerful power. Although Lin Moyu is only in the other side realm, his body and soul are ridiculously strong, far beyond the ordinary other side realm. The soul has long been on par with the half-step supreme, and the same is true for the physical strength. The soul and body are equally powerful. How could the bloodline not be strong? Seeing Lin Moyu's essence and blood, the 4 original beasts all opened their eyes wide. How come? What a rich source of power. Why is your original power so powerful? My dear, I feel that your original power is stronger than the rest of us. They looked at Lin Moyu like they were looking at a monster. Lin Moyu naturally knows that his blood contains the history of his origin. Because he possesses the original magic, the original power has already penetrated into the blood and soul. He stared at Bai Hu. Is it enough? Enough, enough. Bai Hu nodded his head hurriedly. That's enough, take it. Lin Moyu waved his hand and sent 2 drops of blood essence to Bai Hu. Although blood and essence are precious, he has no shortage of them. His bloodline is strong and his chi and blood are like a dragon. Not to mention 1 or 2 drops of essence and blood, even 1 or 2,000 drops of essence and blood are nothing. Bai Hu was about to put it away when he heard Xuanwu say, wait a moment. Bai Hu asked strangely, what's wrong? Xuanwu looked at Qinglong. Qinglong, take a look. Is the original power and the blood essence useful to us? They are the origin beasts. Their 1.5 power comes from the origin of the great world, and they are extremely thirsty for the power of the origin. If the original power in Lin Moyu's essence and blood can be used by them, it will be a great joy for them. 2 rays of light shot out of Qinglong's eyes, and he began to feel it. The 3 original beasts were looking at him, and the weather did not dare to come out. Lin Moyu was a little curious. If his essence and blood were useful to them, he could give them some. Of course, it will not be given for free, there must be a price. Lin Moyu has thought about the price. They have become stronger, and at least in the Battle of Dojiet 1,000 years later, the winning rate of the world will increase. Lin Moyu is not afraid that they will not work. Their lives are tied to the big world. As long as the big world is still alive, they will not die. So they will fight for the world. Qinglong studied it for a long time, and finally sighed, no, there is only the original breath in it, and there is no original power. And even if there is the original power, we can't use it. Bai Hu opened his mouth. Why? Qinglong said, because his original power does not come from the big world, but from the boundary sea. He honestly took away the 2 drops of essence and blood without saying a word. Lin Moyu felt strange. The same source of power, is there any difference? Suzaku said, whether your original power comes from a more powerful world or from the world sea, it is different from ours. We are the original divine beasts of the big world, and our original power comes from the big world. The big world has the ability to swallow and absorb the power of other origins, but we don't. Well, if that's the case, then there's nothing Lin Moyu can do. Bai Hu took away 2 drops of blood essence. After I deal with the bedbugs in the black blood world, I will use your blood essence to pursue bloodline souls. You may feel it by then, don't be surprised, it'll be fine. Lin Moyu nodded slightly, okay, I understand. Qinglong called out softly, let's do our own thing next. After saying that, Qinglong will return to the center of the battlefield and go to sleep again to restore the actual 260,000. Thousands of years won't restore much strength to him, so maybe it would be good to gain 1 point. Lin Moyu suddenly stopped Qinglong. Wait a minute, Senior Qinglong, I have something else to ask you. Qinglong was very polite and had a good attitude. You tell me. Lin Moyu said, now that all the hundreds of sacred roads are cut off, it is difficult to repair the sacred roads and can only be built new ones. Holy Talisman Tianzuan told me 3 methods. One of them is to dismantle a sacred road and rebuild it on the original site. Qinglong groaned softly. You want me to dismantle the divine path, right? Lin Moyu admitted generously, yes. Qinglong shook his big head. This is indeed a method, but unfortunately, we can't do it. The divine path is related to the origin of the great world. In addition to the origin, it also contains the calendar area of Tianzuan. I am the origin of the great world, the divine beast, and I cannot use the origin of the great world to attack the divine path. If I don't use the source, my combat power is not strong enough to eliminate the power left by Tianzuan there. Lin Moyu did not doubt Qinglong's words, so that's it. It seems that this road is dead. Qinglong said, so you only have 2 methods left, either absorb the origin of Dojie, maybe the big world can evolve the 101st rune. However, judging from the current situation in the world, this probability is not high. The last option is to build a divine road that leads directly to the origin of the great world. However, even the gods in ancient times could not build this divine road because it was difficult. Lin Moyu was not disappointed. He had already expected this answer. I know, just take it one step at a time. Suzaku chuckled. Although the road is difficult, there is always a glimmer of hope. Don't be discouraged and believe in yourself. Thanks. Qinglong returned to the center of the battlefield and fell asleep again. The realm enveloped the starry sky, and his aura began to rise. There is something different about this hibernation. He is actively hibernating. During hibernation, he communicates with the source of the world, hoping to regain his strength as much as possible. Xuanwu roared, I'm going to purify the dark void. Suzaku landed directly on White Tiger. Let's go outside the territory to clear out the last remnants of the Black Blood world. Lin Moyu nodded, it's up to you. He opened the door to space and sent the 3 divine beasts away. Send Xuanwu into the dark void, and then send White Tiger Suzaku to the borderland. White Tiger and Suzaku crossed the border to go outside the territory. They were not only hunting down the remnants of the Black Blood world, but also looking for the human race who had been living outside the territory since ancient times. I don't know if those people are still there, maybe they are all dead. The outside of the territory is not a good place. The further away from the territory, the more dangerous it becomes. Most of these dangers come from the Boundary Sea. The power of the Boundary Sea will penetrate from the edge of the world. The power of the Boundary Sea is very strong and will evolve all kinds of weirdness. Lin Moyu has been to the Jiehai once, but he didn't dare to enter the Jiehai. The Jiehai felt very dangerous to him. If the world itself is strong enough, the force that penetrates will be weak, and the danger will naturally decrease. But today's big world is like a ball breaking through the wind everywhere, and the power seeping in from the world system is so strong, one can imagine. Lin Moyu is not worried about White Tiger and Suzaku. After all, they are the original beasts of the big world, and nothing will happen to them in the big world. One day later, Lin Moyu returned to the human star field. As soon as he came back, Renhuang Network took the initiative to contact him and inquire about the situation. After learning that nothing happened, the Emperor was obviously relieved. Today's human race is very busy, and the resources brought back will take a long time to be transformed and arranged properly. The human race is also in full swing, and the human emperor continues to issue new tasks to allow all people to participate in the transformation. In addition, Lin Moyu got another news from the human emperor that the Starry Sky Fishman tribe will come to visit in a few days. When the human race and the hundreds of races fought before, the Starry Skyfish race chose not to help each other. In fact, in Lin Moyu's eyes, this choice is not the best choice. But everyone knows the relationship between the starry skyfish human race and the human race. They were originally vassals of the human race, a race created by Tianzuan. Neither the big world nor the human race had any causal hatred against them, so the human race didn't pay attention to them. If it were another race, if they dared not to stand in line, they would be destroyed directly. If the human race doesn't take action, the 100 Races Alliance will definitely take action. Now that the human race has won a great victory, there are only a handful of races left in the entire world. 557. As long as the starry skyfish people are not too stupid, they will naturally come to visit and establish a good relationship with them. Lin Moyu didn't feel much about their visit. He didn't want to participate. After all, he had a grudge against them. But when he heard that the leader was Yu Qingru, Lin Moyu changed his mind. This princess of the Fishman tribe once risked her life to report to him. This kindness will never be forgotten in Moyu. In the starry sky not far from the Suzaku Star territory, this was once the border of the human race, and it was also the small world where Lin Moyu was born. Lin Moyu came back here again. After many years, he wanted to see his little world again. But after arriving here, Lin Moyu suddenly found that the little world was missing. He could not misremember the location of the small world, but the small world was really gone. How come? Recalling that the small world kept flickering before, it really looked like it was about to leave. It is not difficult for Little World to leave. Even he can take Little World to other places. But where did the Little World go? Where will it go? Where's Antares? Isn't he about to come out? Hundreds of years have passed. Why hasn't he come out yet? What happened in the small world? Suddenly, the connection between him and the small world appeared again. The small world suddenly appeared before his eyes, as if what he had just seen was just an illusion. The small world did reappear, so suddenly and without any warning. Lin Moyu was very close to the small world at this time, less than 100,000 kilometers away. This distance was not safe. Less than a second after the small world appeared, Lin Moyu's soul sent a crazy warning. Danger! 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 Lin Moyu's heart moved, and the laws of time and space intertwined to form the power of time and space, covering his whole body. The two laws are completely mastered and intertwined into the power of time and space, which is also the confidence for Lin Moyu to come here again. The danger in the small world comes from the power of time and space. I used the power of time and space to deal with it. I think the danger will be reduced a lot. Just as he was thinking about it, the majestic power of time and space was already rushing towards him. The two forces of time and space collided. Lin Moyu's whole body was shaken violently, and he was forcibly knocked away. The soul was also impacted by the force of time and space, and was distorted and deformed. So strong. Lin Moyu was amazed that the other party's power of time and space was far superior to his own. At the same time, he also looked happy. His idea was right. The power of time and space can indeed block the opponent's attack. At least his life safety is guaranteed, but it is a pity that his power of time and space is not strong enough to fight against it. Try again. Lin Moyu continued to use the power of time and space to cover himself and rushed towards the small world, and another powerful Li Huang surge came. With a bang, Lin Moyu was knocked away again. This time the power was stronger than before. Lin Moyu felt that his power of time and space was almost shaken away. At the same time he seemed to hear the sound of water. While hearing the sound of water, his connection with the small world was rapidly weakening. The small world once again became illusory from sight and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Only the sound of water continues, that is the sound of the boundary sea. The last time he came, Lin Moyu heard the sound of Jie. The disappearance of the small world is related to the boundary sea. Lin Moyu was very sure at this time that there must be a mysterious strider manipulating everything behind the scenes. This mysterious strong man is outside the big world and wants to take away the small world. This kind of existence has gone beyond the scope of Xuanwu. Why did you take away the small world? Is it for the natural disaster scepter? Antarius is still in the small world. What should I do? Lin Moyu thought for a long time but couldn't think of a way. He couldn't even get close and could only watch the small world disappear. Lin Moyu felt a deep sense of powerlessness. Antarius, don't worry, Dot. You said that if you want to go to the Dragon Clan with me, you must be safe. At this time, Lin Moyu thought of the first batch of people who came out of the small world, and they also disappeared mysteriously. Was he also taken out of the big world? Now that I think about it, it is very possible that such a bizarre thing happened under the nose of Renwang Network. Lin Moyu watched from a distance and stopped approaching. After a while, the small world appeared again. Then the small world disappears again, and will appear again after a while. Disappear, appear, endless cycle. Like starlight, twinkling one after another. Compared with last time, the time of disappearance now becomes longer and the time of existence becomes shorter. This also shows that the connection between the small world and the big world is getting weaker and weaker, and it has not been long since it completely left. In the final analysis, the strength is still not enough. The slight pride brought about by the annihilation of hundreds of tribes and the elimination of the remnants of the black blood world disappeared at this moment. Even when faced with an existence like the Origin Divine Beast, Lin Moyu did not feel any frustration. Even if he has to fight, he dares to give it a go. But facing the small world in which she was born, Lin Moyu felt powerless. When consciousness entered the soul, Lin Moyu saw the world of his soul, which was a world full of vitality. The stars are bright and dotted, the magic stars hang high in the sky, and the world tree stretches naturally, covering the sky and the sun. Lin Moyu saw the sleeping coffin, which was always closed beside him. In the sleeping coffin, his 4 wives were sleeping. The soul stretched out its hand and gently touched the sleeping coffin, thinking about it. So tired. Xianxian, Yuner, Hanner, I really feel a little tired. It's very difficult to become the Supreme Being, and it's even harder to become the Heavenly Lord. I don't know if I can succeed. But don't worry, I will not forget what I said. I want to become the Supreme, the Heavenly Lord, and I will change my destiny against the will of heaven. Lin Moyu's soul felt tired, and he hadn't felt this way for a long time. After entering the big world, he was busy and never stopped for the goal. At this time, the powerlessness of the small world made him feel tired. I really want to take a nap. The soul caressed the sleeping coffin, and unknowingly, Lin Moyu fell asleep. The deep sleep of the soul is like the dormancy of the original divine beast, and the whole soul is completely relaxed. Countless branches dropped from the branches of the world, slowly wrapping Lin Moyu, sending a large amount of soul power into his soul. Cao, the wood god who was once left behind by the Holy Lord Tianzuan, was swept over by the world tree and sent to Lin Moyu's soul. After the wood god Cao touches the soul, it melts quickly and wraps the soul like water. The aura of the soul is rapidly becoming stronger. The 9-color dragon soul crystal has completed sublimation unknowingly, and the 10th color gradually appears. Although it is still very weak, not as good as the other 9, it actually has the 10th color. This is a miracle. Even in the history of the Dragon Clan, this kind of miracle has never happened before. The 10-color dragon soul crystal spit out a mouthful of dragon breath towards Lin Moyu's soul. The dragon's breath was extremely warm and nourished Lin Moyu's soul, making it purer and clearer. The Shinjo cauldron, which had been silent for many years, automatically flew up and came to the top of the soul, pouring out a large amount of golden light. This magical thing called divine power seems to amplify the effects of the world tree and the colorful dragon soul crystal, making Lin Moyu's soul purer. In the originally purple gold soul, a golden flame suddenly appeared. The original aura drifted out from the flames and gradually spread in the soul world. Lin Moyu knew nothing about this. He was still in a dormant state, his soul was completely relaxed, and he slept soundly. The soul was still holding the scepter of natural disaster while sleeping. At this time, the soul gem on the scepter of natural disaster lit up and gave off a soft light. The earthy yellow light flows like flowing water. Wherever the flowing water passes, whether it is the power of divinity, the dragon's breath of the colorful dragon soul crystal, or the soul power of the world tree, they are all merged together to form a whole, completely absorbed by the soul. The soul gem of the natural disaster scepter is like a commander, and the various forces are like soldiers, completely obeying the commander's orders. Under its influence, the soul absorbs all energy and becomes more perfect. It looks like purple gold and beautiful jade, with a blazing flame in the center of the jade. Brat, didn't I tell you not to come? Are you coming here again and again to seek death? I told you, I'm fine, don't come here looking for death. Lin Moyu vaguely heard Antares' voice, and his soul, which had been dormant for an unknown length of time, slowly woke up. Lin Moyu opened his eyes and found that he was still in the starry sky, and the small world was hundreds of millions of kilometers away. The small world is flickering, gradually disappearing, and the cycle begins again. For a moment, he, Zhao Zhao, couldn't tell whether he heard it wrong or whether it was just a dream. Antares, is that you? Lin Moyu sent a message towards the small world. If it was really Antares, he should be able to hear it. A few seconds later, Antares' voice exploded in his ears. Get out of here, I don't want you to be a guest. Lin Moyu did not leave, but continued, when can you come out? A few seconds later, Antares' voice sounded again, there was an accident. I'm coming out soon. The more times you come, the later I will come out. Get out of here, I will come find you when I come out. The small world disappeared, and Lin Moyu's connection with the small world was completely severed. Instead, wisps of the aura of the boundary sea appeared in the starry sky. This time the sensation was clearer than ever before. The clarity was much worse, like a short-sighted person suddenly wearing suitable glasses. Not only the boundary sea, Lin Moyu felt that the entire starry sky became clear, as if the eyes of the soul had been opened. Huh? My soul. Focusing on his soul, Lin Moyu was surprised to find that his soul had undergone tremendous changes. The soul is like purple gold and jade, warm and luxurious. It no longer looks like a soul, but like a real living being. In the center of the soul, probably at the heart, a golden flame is burning. As the flames danced, strands of the original aura were emanating, permeating the soul world. After having the original aura, it seems that the entire soul world has become stronger. The fire of the origin, the soul of the supreme realm. Lin Moyu was shocked by himself. He just took a nap, how could his soul reach the supreme state? It's really strange. I just took a nap and didn't get any reward from the big world, let alone enlightenment. Is it because I am usually too tired and my soul is too tense? Now that I relax, I can go further. Tao follows nature. Doesn't it mean that literature is natural and inaction achieves the Tao? After thinking about it, this is the only possibility. After confirming that his soul had been promoted to the supreme realm, Lin Moyu felt even more strange. The road to God has been cut off, because the road leading to the supreme in the world has been almost blocked. If you want to achieve supreme status, you need to step on the divine path, gain recognition from the great world, obtain the origin of the great world, and let your own world of rules contain the power of the origin. With the power of the source, the world of supreme rules will be greatly enhanced, far exceeding that of the Holy One. But Lin Moyu is very clear about the current situation in the big world. Once the divine path is cut off, it will no longer be recognized by the big world, and it will be difficult to obtain the original power from it. 190 without the power of origin, one cannot become supreme. Therefore, if you want to achieve supreme status in the big world, you need to find the source of power. The original power is not the kind of original magic that Lin Moyu obtained in the small world, but something similar to the original crystal. It also needs to be an original crystal without an owner, such as what was left after the destruction of a certain world, and it also needs to be non-conflicting. A special origin crystal like the one from the Black Blood realm is useless even if you get it. Lin Moyu had never obtained the origin crystal at all, and he was also very surprised as to where his origin experience came from. Your own origin is not the origin of the big world at all. The same source of power has a completely different feeling. His soul can easily feel the difference between the two. He looked at the fire in his soul, and the more he looked at it, the more familiar it seemed. Golden flames. Isn't this the power of divinity? Lin Moyu finally knew the origin of his original power, which came from the divine history of Shenzhou Island. Antares was surprised when he got the divine cauldron. Looking back now, even Antares' level of strength would be surprising. The level of Shenzhou cauldron must be extremely high. Later, there was very little movement in Shenzhou cauldron. The most recent one was in Yunwu sect, and there was no movement for hundreds of years. Kef. I never imagined that the divine power inside was actually the original power. No wonder the divine cauldron has such a magical effect. The power of divinity is the original power. However, my soul has become like this, and magic alone is not enough. The laws of time converge in the soul world, and the laws converge and take shape, projecting a picture. Looking back in time. Through the law of time, Lin Moyu looks into the past to see what happened to him. Scenes from his deep sleep unfolded before his eyes, and Lin Moyu finally understood what had happened to him. The world tree, the colorful dragon soul crystal, and the divine cauldron worked together, and were ultimately commanded by the soul gem of the natural disaster scepter, which ultimately led to this evolution. Without relying on the original power of the big world, the soul reached the supreme state. For Lin Moyu, half of his path to the supreme realm has been opened. He only needs to open the other half of his physical body to achieve supreme status. There is no need for a divine path, nor does it depend on the big world. Lin Moyu has known this path for a long time. He had thought before that after the cause and effect were cut off in the world, he would look for items containing the power of the source. But now, before I look for it, the original power appears on its own. It turns out that I have been sitting on a treasure mountain without knowing it. The 10-color dragon soul crystal, the divine cauldron, and the natural disaster scepter are all rare treasures. Even in ancient times, those heavenly lords could fight for it. Lin Moyu's attention returned to reality and his soul broke through, but it did not lead to an improvement in his realm. He is still in the other side state. Before he reaches the Holy Lord, the world has not been built. The next thing to do is to sublimate all laws into rules, and then try to build a world of rules. The starlight refining method has not been completed yet. 10,000 stars is still a little short of it, and at the same time, the world crystallization is not enough. Lin Moyu has ambitions. He hopes that his world of rules can surpass all saints. Not only the saints of this era, but also the saints of ancient times. He is very ambitious and wants to take a road he has never walked before. A world of rules, more than perfection. After building the world of rules, reach half step to supreme, rebuild the divine path, gain recognition from the big world, and truly be promoted to supreme. Rather than saying that the soul reached the supreme realm with the help of the divine cauldron. Unless he also wants to escape from the big world, he cannot escape the level of the heavenly world. There is still much to do. Finally, he looked at the small world that appeared and disappeared. The door to empty production opened, and Lin Moyu turned around and left. The door of the central temple is closed tightly, and a large number of formations are in operation in the temple, revealing a strange atmosphere. Xuanwu sat on the calf, with curiosity in her big eyes. What does wandering like a fugue look like? Saint Hao smiled and said, wandering in the spirit is a very strange experience. If you have the opportunity in the future, Xuanwu can also try it. When Xuanwu heard this, she became energetic and shouted loudly, okay, I'm going to wander even if I don't show my face. Saint Hao smiled brightly and said, I hope I can gain something from this trip to the world. As he spoke, Xuanwu suddenly turned his head and looked at the sky. The master is back. A door to space appeared in the starry sky outside the divine city. Lin Moyu flew out and then stepped out, and people entered the divine city. Seeing the closed central hall and feeling a strange aura, Lin Moyu knew that Tian Xingzuan had begun to wander again. Now that the major event has been decided, Tian Xingzuan can rest assured that he can travel in the spirit, hoping to enter the fighting world again and obtain more information. More than 1,000 years seems to be a long time, but in fact it is short. There are also supreme beings in Dojie, and there are also opportunities to obtain Jiehai shells and enter Jiehai. They should also know that they are about to encounter the big world, and may be preparing for a war. Owner. Xuanwu screamed in surprise, abandoned the calf, and hung directly on Lin Moyu. At this moment, Mavericks felt abandoned. Saint Hao looked at this scene with a smile on his face. I'm finally back, it's so hard. Lin Moyu smiled and said, everything should be done. How is the situation in the clan now? Saint Hao said, the family is in peace, and with these resources, our family's fortunes will rise, and geniuses will emerge in large numbers. Lin Moyu shook his head, this is a good thing. It's not very useful. What really determines victory or defeat is top battle experience. Holy Lord Hao naturally knows that the real victory or defeat does not depend on how many geniuses there are in the clan, but on the true top combat power of the clan. It depends on how many supremes there are and how many holy lords there are. Saint Hao sighed, it's a pity that the path to God has been cut off. We old guys have tried our best, but at most we can only reach half-step to the supreme level. Lin Moyu said, the 4 origin beasts have awakened. The Red Star Supreme will also come back to arrange the 10,000 stars formation. There are also my sister and I. We are not without the strength to fight. There are still more than 1,000 years to go. The future is unknown and everything is possible. After chatting with Saint Hao for a while, Lin Moyu went to the location of the human emperor's body. The other side of the human race is practicing there, and their next task is to seize the time to practice. As for why they practice, the ancestors of the other shore realm don't know. It's just an order issued by Tian Xingzuan, and they will all listen. Tian Xingzuan told them seriously that the battle was not over yet, and the real war was about to begin. In the future war, the other side can only be cannon fodder. If they want to survive, they should cultivate as soon as possible and become saints. The ancestors of the other shore realm, who were rarely seen in normal times, were sitting cross-legged in the starry sky, practicing hard. Lin Moyu's arrival woke up many people, and all of them looked at Lin Moyu silently. The moment they saw Lin Moyu, many ancestors stood up and saluted Lin Moyu. Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin. The ancestors from the other side who have lived for thousands of years have great respect for Lin Moyu. They knew that it was Lin Moyu who led the previous war of hundreds of tribes. Lin Moyu's combat power was unparalleled. Together, they were no match for Lin Moyu. With Lin Moyu's talent, the Holy Master is a sure thing, and half-step to the Supreme Master is no problem. No one has doubted Lin Moyu's future, just look at Lin Mohan. In the big world, strength is respected, so they respect Lin Moyu very much and call Lin Moyu Mr. Lin. Lin Moyu returned the gift to everyone on the other side, glanced over, and found Mr. Lin. The blood-killing god is next to Mr. Lin. At this time, the blood-killing god is in a strange state. He seems to be the other side, but not quite like the other side. In Lin Moyu's eyes, the blood-killing god is stronger than half a step to the other side, but a little weaker than the real other side. In the process of cultivation, there is no such state, and the state of the blood-killing god is very strange. Everything is because of the gourd of cause and effect. The karma gourd saved the life of the blood-killing god, but it also prevented him from truly stepping into the other side. Lin Moyu came to Mr. Lin and saluted slightly. Old Lin, I will fulfill my promise. He said before that after he reaches the other side, he can cure the blood-killing god. There were endless wars, and he was so busy that Lin Moyu never had time to spare. Now, I finally have to fulfill my previous commitment, which can also be regarded as completing my own cause and effect. Hearing Lin Moyu's words, the blood-killing god trembled all over and immediately stood up and saluted respectfully. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "No need to thank me, I have a purpose." The blood-killing god smiled and said, "Of course, as long as I can recover, this karma gourd will naturally belong to you." Lin Moyu said, "The gourd of cause and effect is a rare magic weapon of the law of cause and effect. You are so willing to give it up." The blood-killing god smiled and said, "If there's anything you can't bear to part with, it's just a gourd." What he said was very heroic and showed no nostalgia for the karma gourd. Lin Moyu looked at Mr. Lin. "Mr. Lin, what do you think?" Mr. Lin chuckled, "I only love tea in my life, everything else is external." Lin Moyu nodded. "Lord Blood-Killer, please take a seat." The blood-killing god sat down as instructed. Lin Moyu stretched out his hand and pressed it, and the rules of immortality came out. The rules of immortality were divided into two, and the power of death and the power of life entered the body of the blood-killing god at the same time. Lin Moyu said, "The power of the dirty blood in the black blood world has penetrated into the blood, corroded the soul, and finally polluted your blood sea, so the first step is to remove the dirty blood from your blood. Then comes the soul, and finally comes the sea of blood. The process may be a little painful, please wait. You can cry out if you really can't help it. It hurts your soul. It's not shameful." The blood-killing god said in a low voice, "Mr. Lin, please come, I can bear it." Wherever the power of death passes, the black blood in the bloodline is quickly corroded, and is quickly cleared away by the calendar of death. While removing the power of death, the bloodline will inevitably be harmed. The blood-killing god felt that his blood was boiling, and severe pain struck from every corner of his body. His whole body was trembling, countless drops of blood emerged from under his skin, and he suddenly turned into a bloody man. The force of life followed closely and began to treat the injured bloodline. After the pain, there is endless relief. The blood-killing god instinctively shouted in joy, but then, the calendar of death began to corrode other parts. The god of blood-killing once again fell into the whirlpool of pain. He was in pain and happy at the same time. His whole body was shaking, but he didn't even make a sound. Lin Moyu cleaned up the bloodline of the blood-killing god as quickly as possible, and then the soul. The blood-killing god released his soul and let Lin Moyu in. Lin Moyu controlled the world-burning fire to destroy the soul minister's bloodline. Fortunately, the soul of the blood-killing god lord was not contaminated at all, just a little bit, which is much easier to treat than Xuanwu. When the world-burning fire burned his soul, the blood-killing god finally couldn't help but let out a muffled groan. Soul pain is recognized by ordinary people. The severe pain was followed by relief, and the relief of the soul was equally exciting. The blood-killing god almost couldn't help but scream. Finally, there is the blood sea. The blood-killing god obeyed Lin Moyu's instructions and summoned his own blood sea. There are many bloodlines in the blood sea, and these bloodlines are the power of the black blood world. The power of death swept across the blood sea, clearing away all the power left in the black blood world. The blood-killing god felt extremely light all over his body. This was the first time he had felt this way in so many years. If Lin Moyu hadn't been there, he would have really wanted to scream. Lin Moyu transformed the power of death into the power of death, treated the injuries of the blood-killing god, and said at the same time, "It's done." The blood-killing god understood this and immediately took out the gourd of cause and effect, holding it in both hands and handing it to Lin Moyu with great respect. "I have erased the soul mark on it. From now on, this karma gourd will belong to you." Lin Moyu was not polite and took the reward he deserved. "Thank you very much." As he said this, he said to Mr. Lin, "I still have something to do, so I'll have tea with Mr. Lin when I have some free time." Mr. Lin said with a smile, "Thank you, sir. Please go slowly." The problems of the past are nothing to Lin Moyu today and can be solved with a snap of his fingers. No matter what happens, strength is the key. As long as you are strong enough, you can do whatever you do. After getting the karma gourd, Lin Moyu felt the aura of Xuanwu sect from the karma gourd. It can be judged that the karma gourd should have come from the hands of a certain Tianzuan of the Xuanwu sect, or perhaps the Huan Yuan Tianzuan. Through the causal gourd, you can speed up the understanding of the law of cause and effect, which may be of great use in the future. A group of people flew into the human race, and the Human Emperor Network opened a channel for them to reach the divine city. The team of the Starry Sky Fishman tribe is here. This time they are led by Xuanwu, and they also bring several geniuses from the tribe, without the Holy Lord. The Starry Skyfish human race showed enough sincerity and lowered their posture. They were obviously telling the human race that their status was lower than that of the human race. In some secular dynasties in the small world, doing so means surrender. Of course, the human race has not thought about conquering the Starry Skyfish people. As long as they don't make trouble, the human race is too lazy to deal with them. On the port star, the human race's welcoming team has arrived, and the person leading the team is Hao Xingzuan. The human race also gave him enough face and was received by the Holy Lord himself. After all, in the Mermaid clan, Yu Qingrou's status is not much lower than that of several saints. This also shows the sincerity of the human race. As soon as Lin Moyu arrived at the port star, he heard a chuckle in his ear. "Xiaoyu, you are finally here." Lin Moyu was stunned for a moment, but he didn't expect that his elder sister would also come over. Lin Moyu moved to Lin Mohan's side. "Sister, why are you here?" Lin Mohan looked at him. "Of course you are here to see my sister-in-law." Lin Moyu's expression froze. "Sister, Qingru is the princess of the fish human tribe, and princesses cannot marry outside." There was disdain in Lin Mohan's eyes. A princess cannot marry outside, so she should just be a princess. Those are the rules of the fish people, not mine. As long as you want to marry Xiaoyu, I don't think they will agree. Lin Mohan was not polite at all, as if the Starry Skyfish human tribe would kill the doctor directly if they dared to disagree. Lin Moyu said, "Don't just fight and kill. The Starry Skyfish people are not our enemies." Lin Mohan squinted his eyes with a dangerous light. "I heard that their clan leader once wanted to kill you. What's more, there was the 800 incident of Luoshen, which shows that their princess is not really prohibited from marrying outside. In short, rules are made by people. As long as you are strong enough, you can make new rules." Lin Moyu naturally understands that Lin Mohan is domineering, strong, and decisive. As long as Lin Mohan decides on something, it's okay if you agree. If you don't agree, he will just cut it with a sword until you agree. Lin Moyu was a little helpless. "Sister, can I handle this matter myself?" Lin Mohan looked at Lin Moyu. "Okay, I will give you a chance. You can handle it best. If you can't handle it, I will help you." "I really don't need your help." Lin Moyu shouted in his heart, "This matter is much more complicated than fighting and killing." Lin Mohan continued, "And don't forget that girl named Yuju. I think she is also a good girl. Don't delay. If you continue to delay, I don't know when I will be able to hold my eldest nephew. Grandma is not here, and the eldest sister is the mother. You have to think about the incense of the Lin family. Look at those saints on the other side, none of them have a big family. It's just you and my sister. Aren't you too lonely? Build a Lin family. I guarantee it will be stronger than the families of those saints." Lin Moyu became more and more speechless. When did his elder sister become a talkative? Lin Moyu sighed. "Sister, you have changed. You used to be so cold, and you rarely spoke." Lin Mohan said, "That's for others. When have you ever been cold to my sister? If you can't do this, I will snatch 1,800 girls back for you tomorrow, and I don't believe that none of them will be born." Lin Moyu was completely defeated and had no choice but to resign. A team of Starry Skyfishmen appeared in the starry sky, and a fish-like warship slowly flew in and docked outside the port star. The Human Emperor Network released Saixia to guide them. After the battleship came to a stop, the Murloc team flew out of the battleship. Yu Qingru led the team, followed by 8 people, making the team a total of 9 people. Not seen for more than 100 years, Yu Qingrou's realm has been promoted to the 6th level of God. Because of the laws of space, Yu Qingrou's real strength is no worse than that of a high-level god, and it is difficult to kill. The fishmen following her are all young, and they are all gods, and they are all geniuses in the clan. These geniuses usually have the highest regard among the clan, and are also very curious about the geniuses in the human race, and want to compete with each other. Lin Mohan saw Yu Qingru from a distance, and her eyes shone slightly. This girl is pretty good. Lin Moyu couldn't help but ask, what's so good? Lin Mohan said seriously, I have a good face, although not as good as my sister, but at least 90%. The waist is small and the butt is big. It is easy to give birth to. It is a good material for giving birth to babies. Lin Moyu almost spit out a mouthful of old blood. I dare say this is what Lin Mohan calls good. Yu Qingru also saw Lin Moyu, with a hint of joy in her eyes, and then she saw Lin Mohan beside her. Lin Mohan's beauty was so stunning that even Yu Qingru was stunned for a moment, and then became a little displeased. Lin Moyu and Lin Mohan stand side by side, like a pair of golden boys and girls, making people envious and jealous. Several young people who came with Yu Qingru saw Lin Mohan and were immediately attracted by Lin Mohan's stunning beauty, with admiration in their eyes. Even the ancestors of the other side realm can't bear Lin Mohan's beauty, let alone these little guys. Lin Mohan and Yu Qingru's eyes met in the air, and they nodded to each other. Lin Mohan whispered, as if she was jealous. Lin Moyu changed the subject, those young people are all fascinated by you. Lin Mohan disagreed, isn't that normal? Don't change the subject. If you can't deal with Yu Qingru, you understand. Lin Moyu said, Sister, can we not mention the matter of having a baby? Your 4 younger siblings are still here. This is not conflicting. Lin Mohan directly blocked Lin Moyu's words. The way the two of them were talking was noticed by Yu Qingru. Yu Qingru's eyes became even more jealous, and her mouth was full of sourness. What's wrong with me? Why should I care so much about him? Yu Qingru couldn't express her feelings, but the sourness in her heart was not fake. Anyway, she was very unhappy when she saw Lin Moyu talking and laughing with other women. Yu Qingru clarified her thoughts and came to the front of Saint Hao to bow. Princess Yu Qingru of the Starry Skyfish human race has met the senior Saint Hao of the human race. May the human race be prosperous forever. The young people behind her also saluted together, but their attention remained on Lin Mohan. Saint Hao smiled and said, I am a guest from afar, so the princess does not need to be polite. At this time, Yu Qingru's hand flashed, and a box appeared next to him. The box was about half a meter high and wide, and it was very delicate. This is a gift from our clan leader. I wish the human race a great victory and regain control of the starry sky. Saint Hao laughed and said, Clan Chief Baomei is so polite. The two seemed to be chatting happily, and the relationship between the two tribes seemed to be very good. In fact, Lin Moyu knew very well that Saint Hao almost killed the Starry Skyfishmen and asked Yu Qimei for an explanation. However, on the surface, Zun still behaves extremely politely. This time the fishmen lowered their profile and came with gifts, which was considered a surrender. Saint Hao had a smile on his face. I am very curious about the gift sent by the noble this time. I can't wait to see it. I wonder if Princess Ro would mind. Yu Qingru smiled brightly. Of course I don't mind. Originally, Qingru was just showing off to the Holy Lord. 1.8 With a bit of mystery, there are several items in the gifts that Qingru handpicked, and they are considered treasures among this tribe. Saint Hao smiled even more happily. Oh, then I will have a lot of experience. Yu Qingju said, then Senior will open it with his own hands, and Qingru will introduce it to Senior. Saint Hao came to the box, raised his finger slightly, and the box opened in response. For a moment, the rays of light soared into the sky, and powerful aura rushed out of the box, gathering in the sky and turning into a colorful cloud, which was too beautiful to behold. Everyone present saw this scene and knew that the treasures brought by the Starry Skyfishmen must be extraordinary. Lin Moyu felt the space fluctuations from the treasure and knew that some of the things inside should be related to the laws of space. The bloodline of the Starry Skyfish people contains the law of space, and most things in the clan are related to it. It seems that the starry skyfish men are really bleeding heavily this time. The box is not big, and there are 3 things neatly placed inside. Giving gifts is not about quantity, but about value. If there is no value, no matter how much you give, it will be in vain. Xuanwu introduced the gifts in the box to Saint Hao. She stretched out her slender hand and took out the first item from the box. This is a scroll. The scroll is somewhat ancient and exudes a vast atmosphere. Lin Moyu felt a hint of Tianzuan's aura from it. The scroll should have been touched by Tianzuan, and the contact time was not too short. Xuanwu introduced, this scroll once belonged to a deity in ancient times, and the scroll hand recorded Taoist magic. Activate the scroll to cast this spell. The power of the spell is equivalent to the Supreme Strike. Although the scroll is a disposable item, its value is still very high. After finishing speaking, Xuanwu held the scroll in both hands and handed it to Haoxingzun's minister respectfully. Lin Moyu felt slightly strange when he heard these words. He heard another flavor from Xuanwu's words. Lin Mohan sent a message, this starry skyfish people are not only giving gifts, they are also demonstrating. Lin Moyu nodded slightly, it was indeed true. The starry skyfish human race is telling the human race that they have more than one scroll like this. Since I can give one to the human race, it means there are many in the clan. At the same time, the starry skyfish people also made their attitude clear in 26. I can bow my head, but I am still me, not your human subordinate. Although the human race has regained control of the starry sky, we, the starry skyfish human race, are not easy to mess with. If you want to attack me, I will kill you and defeat you, and both sides will suffer in the end. With the help of their space laws, the starry skyfish human race can directly enter the hinterland of the human race, and then use the scrolls, and the damage caused to the human flag can be imagined. Lin Mohan and Lin Moyu can understand it, and so can Saint Hao. Saint Hao's smile remained unchanged, but there was a hint of danger in his eyes. What a nice gift. Xuanwu sighed secretly in her heart. She also knew that Saint Hao could understand. But this was a decision made by the clan leader after discussion with the elders, and she was powerless to object. He could risk his life and come to report the news to save Lin Moyu, but he could also die for the starry skyfish people. As the princess of the starry skyfish people, this is what she must do. Xuanwu's expression did not change, and she continued to take out the second gift. This time it was a gemstone. The gemstone was only about the size of a fist, and it looked like water was rippling around it. When you look at it from different angles, you can see different colors. As the colors bloom, the space sets off layers of waves, and everyone can feel the rich history of space from the gems. Xuanwu held the gem in his hand. This is a space crystal. It took our clan leader thousands of years to make it by gathering the power of space in the galaxy of space laws. It can be embedded in a magic weapon, giving it the power of space. It can also be used directly. As long as you are in the Holy Realm, you can activate it and open the door to space. Saint Hao raised his eyebrows slightly. This is a good thing. Opening the door to space is of great significance to the human race and can greatly enhance flexibility. As a saint, Xuanwu spent thousands of years refining the treasure in the Law Galaxy. It is the pinnacle of saint-level treasures and is extremely precious. Even compared to some Supreme Realm treasures, this space crystal is not inferior. Lin Mohan said again, this time I'm showing weakness again. Lin Moyu naturally understood that this was telling the human race that they did not want to go to war with the human race and hoped to coexist peacefully with the human race. 2 gifts, one shows that we have the ability to fight against the human race to the death, and the other tells the human race that we want to get along well with the human race. Even if we cannot be friends, we should not become enemies. Saint Hao smiled and took the space crystal. He could naturally understand what the starry skyfish people meant. He said slowly, it is indeed a good thing. It will be much more convenient for our human race to fight. The space crystal was refined by the Red Eyebrow Patriarch, and it seems to still have the breath of the Red Eyebrow Patriarch on it. Xuanwu smiled brightly, Senior, I was joking. After all, the clan leader has been refining it for thousands of years, so it is normal to leave some breath. With the ability of the seniors, it would only take an instant to clear these auras. Saint Hao nodded. That's a good thing. As he spoke, he tossed the space crystal to Lin Moyu. Moyu, take a look. Among the humans, only Lin Moyu is proficient in the laws of space. If Yu Qimei did anything to it, it would definitely not be hidden from Lin Moyu's eyes. Lin Moyu understood what Saint Hao meant. The laws of space surged and directly wrapped the space crystal. The aura belonging to Yu Qimei quickly dissipated, and the spatial crystallization became purer. The 8 young people who came with Yu Qingru turned to look at Lin Moyu at the same time. There was shock and disbelief in their eyes. The laws of space. How can humans know the laws of space? His space laws are very pure and his mastery is higher than ours. Yu Qingru turned around and shouted, "Shut up, don't be embarrassed." Several young people immediately shut up. Yu Qingru's status was very high, and they could not compare with her. Yu Qingru is most likely to be the clan leader in the future. How dare they not listen to the clan leader's words in the future? Lin Moyu threw the space crystal back to Saint Hao again, saying it was okay. He knew a long time ago that there would be no problem. Yu Qimei would not do anything about this kind of thing. As the leader of the clan, Yu Qimei would not be so stupid. At this time, Yu Qingru took out a third gift. This gift was chosen by Qingru for the nobles. In Yu Qingru's hands is a box. The box is very simple and exquisite. The runes on it are flowing and look extremely extraordinary. The moment he saw the box, Wu Xingzuan was slightly moved. He couldn't help but glance at Lin Moyu, and then said, "What's in this box?" Yu Qingju said, "Qingru doesn't know what's in the box. Dingzi has never opened it. This box has existed since ancient times, and the contents inside it must have been handed down from ancient times to this day. There is no rune master in our clan, so no one can open the box. But Qingru believes that there must be someone among the nobles who can open the box. I don't know if Senior is satisfied with this gift." Saint Hao took the box and laughed. No matter what is in the box, Princess Rose's intention alone is impeccable. It can be seen from his eyes that he is very satisfied. How can we be dissatisfied? Even in ancient times, this kind of box was very precious. It's not a valuable item, so I won't use this kind of box, let alone use complicated runes to seal it. In Lin Moyu's opinion, among the 3 gifts, only the last one is the most thoughtful one and is most likely the one with the highest value. This gift handpicked by Yu Qingru truly represents Yu Qingru's meaning. This future clan leader represents the starry skyfish human race and officially expresses goodwill to the human race. The welcome ceremony ended in an extremely friendly atmosphere. The teleportation array on the port star was opened, taking everyone to the next destination. This time, unlike the previous one, there was no need to take them everywhere to play. Before the fishmen came, the itinerary had been told to the people. They just wanted to bring a few young geniuses from the tribe to see the world, and by the way, they also wanted to see the young medical team from the human race. The 2 sides will play several games to make friends with each other. This time, the starry skyfishmen were placed outside the divine city. The human race deployed a formation outside the divine city and arranged a residence. Here you can see the majestic divine city and feel the power of the divine city. After leaving the teleportation array, everyone from the starry skyfishman tribe saw the divine city. Majestic, powerful, and exquisite. All kinds of beautiful words cannot be used to describe the divine city. The unimaginable masterpiece of the divine city is the strongest military body left from ancient times. The young people of the starry skyfish tribe were all impressed by the divine city and exclaimed in amazement, "This is the human divine city." The greatest city in the legend, even in the flames of war 100,000 years ago, the divine city remained standing. It is said that back then, the divine city withstood the siege of powerful men from all races for hundreds of years, buying time for Xiao Zhantian. What a powerful city! This is the true heritage of the human race. What the human race wants is this effect. From now on, the human race's divine city will leave an indelible impression in their minds. No matter whether they become the other side or the Holy Lord in the future, the power of the human race's divine city will always be imprinted in their hearts. Saint Hao said, "You guys stay here first, and we will enter the divine city tomorrow." Everyone in the Starry Sky Fishmen tribe became excited when they heard that they could enter the divine city. Not everyone can enter the divine city of the human race. Even if the human race wants to enter, it is not easy. Many cultivators of the human race have the goal of entering the divine city. Unexpectedly, the human race has shown such sincerity this time and actually allowed them to enter the divine city. There is no need to do anything, just entering the divine city is enough to show the sincerity of the human race. They felt that they were respected and they were all very happy. Lin Moyu had a panoramic view of the expressions of these people. Although these young people were said to be young, in fact, each of them was 300 to 500 years old. Because of their bloodline, the Starry Skyfish people can practice much faster than the human race. When the human race was 300 to 500 years old, they were only true gods and god kings. They have already reached the level of gods. However, because of their bloodline, the lifespan of the Starry Skyfish people is too short, and the Holy Lord can only live for 5,000 years. The cultivation time is short, and these gods are indeed young people in terms of age and mentality. Lin Moyu sighed, "Seeing them makes me feel old." Lin Mohan chuckled, "I haven't even given birth to a baby yet, so I'm old." Lin Moyu's scalp is numb again. Can he always talk about having a baby? Lin Mohan rolled her eyes at Lin Moyu. "Did I say something wrong?" Lin Moyu didn't want to argue with her, but he couldn't compete with her anyway. Lin Mohan suddenly walked towards Yuchingru, her steps were curling and the wind was infinite. Seeing Lin Mohan coming over, the group of deities in the Fishmen tribe were once again attracted to their attention. They stared at Lin Mohan one by one and could not move away. The admiration in their eyes was beyond words. Yuchingru was also affected by Lin Mohan's beauty, but thinking about her and Lin Moyu's appearance as a golden boy, she felt extremely sad. Lin Mohan came to Yuchingru with a smile and said, "Sister, let's have a few words in private." "Younger sister?" Yuchingru was stunned for a moment. Lin Mohan's age was unknown, but she looked extremely mature. She really looked like a sister compared to herself. Lin Mohan had already walked to the side, and Yuchingru followed him for some reason. The two of them walked far away, and for some reason Yuchingru suddenly regretted why he wanted to talk to her in private. "I don't even know the other person's name, so why are I so obedient?" Lin Mohan seemed to have a special temperament that made her instinctively feel that she should be obedient. Lin Mohan flicked his fingers, the space vibrated, and an invisible force enveloped the two of them. No matter what they say, no one will hear them. With Lin Mohan's current state, even the human emperor wanted to hear what she had to say. Lin Mohan looked Yuchingru up and down. "Not bad, pretty face, thin waist, big butt, fertile." Yuchingru's eyes showed displeasure. "Senior, what exactly are you going to say?" Lin Mohan smiled sweetly. "Let me introduce myself first. My name is Lin Mohan. I am Lin Moyu's sister. Her name is Lin Mohan. Is she Lin Moyu's sister?" Yuchingru's heart trembled wildly, and all the sourness disappeared instantly, replaced by deep joy. Yuchingru blurted out, "Okay." As soon as the words came out of her mouth, Yuchingru regretted a little. How could she just call her sister? Lin Mohan accepted it calmly. "Sister, I have a little favor here, and I want my sister to help me." "You said softly, say." Lin Mohan said, "Help my brother have a baby." Yuchingru was stunned on the spot. Her whole body became stiff, and she couldn't recover for a long time. Lin Moyu watched from a distance. Although he couldn't hear what the two were talking about, he felt that Lin Han would definitely not say anything nice. Just look at Yuchingru's reaction. It took Yuchingru a while to react, and the corners of her mouth twitched. "Sister, don't be joking." Lin Mohan shook his head. "I'm not kidding, I'm serious." Although she was smiling, her tone was indeed serious. Yu Qingju said, I am the princess of the Starry Sky Fishman tribe, and princesses cannot marry outside. Lin Mohan chuckled, so, you agreed. Yu Qingru suddenly realized that she had said the wrong thing. What she said meant that she was willing, but could not agree because of the clan rules. Lin Mohan gently patted Yu Qingru's shoulder, like a big sister, as long as you agree, this matter will be easy to handle. Leave this matter to me, your clan leader will agree. Looking at Lin Mohan's unparalleled smile, Yu Qingru suddenly had a bad premonition. What are you going to do, sister? Lin Mohan said, it's very simple. I will come to your door and talk to your clan leader personally. If she doesn't agree, I will beat her until she agrees. Don't think those scrolls are useful. In my eyes, these scrolls are worse than shit. Yu Qingru felt a little frightened, but Lin Mohan ignored those scrolls. Lin Mohan said, okay, you don't have to worry about this, as long as you agree to it. I also know the story of the Luotian in your clan. Every time there is a first time, there will be a second time. In front of the fist, all the rules are fake. Amid Yu Qingru's uneasiness, the two of them finished whispering and separated. Lin Moyu asked, what did you say to her? Lin Mohan said, it's nothing, I just asked her if she would like to give you a baby. She didn't even refuse, she just agreed. How come you, a grown man, can't even compare to a little girl? Don't embarrass the man, just go ahead. Lin Moyu is a little helpless, this sister of hers is really. For a moment he couldn't find the words to describe him. In the city of God, Saint Hao handed the ancient box to Lin Moyu. The box has been studied by Fu Xingzuan, and the runes on it are too profound and exceed the ability of Fu Xingzuan. If there is anyone else in the human race who can open this box, it must be Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu was not polite and directly took over the box making. He now has two similar ancient boxes, two of which are from the holy talisman Tianzuan and two from the mysterious owner. Lin Moyu never opened the 5 ancient boxes. He never had time to study the runes on them. The runes in the 5 boxes are all different. No matter which one is opened, it will take a long time to study. Now he still doesn't have time, so he can only put the box away first. The light of the divine city enveloped the starry sky, showing its power. Yu Qingru stood in the starry sky and looked at the divine city, her eyes a little blurred and her thoughts very confused. Lin Mohan's words always appeared in her mind, and she didn't know what to do. What are you thinking about? Suddenly a voice came into his ears accompanied by spatial fluctuations. Suddenly hearing Lin Moyu's voice, Yu Qingru quickly came back to her senses. The next second her figure disappeared and entered the deep space. Lin Moyu is in the deep space, as if waiting for him. A smile broke out on Yu Qingru's face. Seeing Lin Moyu, her mood became particularly good for some reason. She looked at Lin Moyu carefully. Why are you here? Lin Moyu smiled and said, come and see you. Yu Qingru felt warm in her heart. That's it. Lin Moyu did not answer directly, but said something else. Do you know that it is actually dangerous to come here this time? Yu Qingru smiled and said, of course I know. It's better for me to come than for the elders and others to come. And even if I am in danger, you will definitely protect me. She seemed very confident, knowing that Lin Moyu would not see her die. The first 2 gifts were both a sign of strength and weakness. If the human race turned against her, it was indeed possible to keep her here. Lin Moyu asked, what did the people say to you? Yu Qingru's face suddenly turned red. Don't you know? Lin Moyu said, you don't need to pay too much attention to her words. Yu Qingru frowned, anger seemed to rise in her eyes. Could everything she said be false? Lin Moyu sighed, that's not true, it's just that there are some things that she didn't explain clearly. What's the matter? Yu Qingru stared, as if she was waiting for an explanation from Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu said, 317 You know, I come from a small world. In our small world, families are more like families. I have wives, and there are more than 10. Lin Moyu told her about her 4 wives, and Yu Qingruo's frowning eyebrows relaxed unconsciously. The eyes became fused, and Yu Qingru looked at Lin Moyu, even feeling a little distressed. Her voice became deeper. In this case, if you get to Tianzuan, you can change their fate against the will of heaven. Lin Moyu said, yes, at least you have to get to Tianzuan, but Tianzuan is very difficult. It is impossible to imagine how difficult it is for Tianzuan. Not to mention the Heavenly Lord, the Supreme One cannot achieve it. In all these years, the Starry Sky Fishman tribe has not even given birth to a half-step Supreme Being, which Tianzuan dare not even think about. Yu Qingju said, the Patriarch said that all roads to the gods are cut off, and it is impossible to reach the supreme level in the big world unless. Lin Moyu shook his head. Although the divine road is cut off, the road to the Supreme is not completely cut off. I am sure of the Supreme, but the Heavenly Lord is still touching it for the time being. And the big world will also experience a catastrophe. In this catastrophe, life and death will be unpredictable. With good luck, the world will survive, but with bad luck, we will all die. Yu Qingru was shocked. What kind of disaster? Lin Moyu said, if there is a world, it will collide with the big world. The 2 worlds will fight to the death. Lin Moyu did not hide it. They had discussed it among themselves and would tell the Starry Sky Fishman tribe about this matter soon. This catastrophe concerns the entire big world. As a member of the big world, it is impossible for the Starry Sky Fishmen to stay out of the matter. If the world wins, then they can still live. If the big world loses, they will also die. The human race does not want the Starry Skyfish human race to do anything for them, but to let them know about it. As for what they will do, Qiu Qi doesn't care. Come to think of it, the patriarchs and elders of the Starry Skyfishmen clan are not fools and know what to do. Yu Qingru looked at the colorful space turbulence in the deep space and murmured, no wonder he wants us. She suddenly turned her head and looked at Lin Moyu. What do you think? At this moment, Yu Qingruo's eyes were very firm, and she seemed to have made a decision. Their eyes met, and Lin Moyu's eyes gradually became firm, and there is one more thing I want to make clear. In addition to my 4 wives, I also have a beauty in the big world. If you are willing, leave the rest to me. Lin Moyu finally made up his mind to put it off and settle it completely. He is not good at emotional matters. It is better to cut through the mess with a quick knife than to keep cutting things into chaos. Yu Qingru stared at Lin Moyu, and it took him a long time to utter 2 words, 6. Lin Moyu shamelessly admitted, 6. Yu Qingru asked, what will you do if I don't agree? Lin Moyu said in a deep voice, that can only mean that the 2 of us have no chance, and I won't force it. Yu Qingru asked again, what will you do if the clan leader doesn't agree? Lin Moyu said, the leader of the Red Eyebrows once made a promise to me. If he doesn't want to keep his promise, some things will be difficult to say. Yu Qingju said, Sister Han said that she, Kfai, will beat the clan leader until he agrees. Lin Moyu also smiled and said, I believe she has this strength. In her eyes, Half-Step Supreme is just a sword. Yu Qingru heard that Lin Moyu was not joking and what he said was very serious. Yu Qingru sighed, as a cultivator, I cannot go against my true intention. Who is that girl? Which one of us is older? Although there was no direct answer, Yu Qingru actually agreed. Lin Moyu said, her name is Yu Zhu. I don't know which of you is older. You can decide by yourself when the time comes. Yu Qingru hummed, take me to see her another day. Good. Now that the matter is settled, Lin Moyu is not an indecisive person. When he becomes thick-skinned, he can completely ignore any secular principles. Sometimes, Lin Moyu feels that this is quite satisfying, and he can do whatever he wants. He thought again of what Bai Yuan said, it is only true that the fists in this world are strong enough. Now that I think about it, it is indeed true. No matter in the small world or the big world, or even outside the big world, all the rules are fake. It only depends on whose fist is strong enough. Yu Qingru nestled in Lin Moyu's arms, and the 2 chatted for a long time in the deep space. Yuchingru talked about what happened in the clan over the years. This also includes the change in the attitude of the entire fish-human race towards the human race. Lin Moyu also told her some of the things he had done, including the battles. Lin Moyu's experience is far richer than that of Yuchingru. Yuchingru was fascinated by it, but at the same time he was worried about Lin Moyu. The next day, a ray of rays of light shot out from the divine city, and the rays of light turned into a starry sky avenue in the starry sky. The voice of the Human Emperor Network sounded, "Everyone, please step onto the rays of light and enter the divine city." Yuchingru took 8 people to the Xiaoguang, and Xiaoguang took them to the divine city. This time, Holy Lord Hao did not appear, but several ancestors from the other side realm took them to visit the divine city. The divine city is as big as a galaxy, so it is naturally impossible to take them all through it, just to see part of it. You can only see the periphery of the divine city, and you cannot enter the core area. There are many human races living in the divine city. These human races are all geniuses, and their realm is above that of the gods. In the divine city, there are human beings practicing everywhere, and there are arenas one after another, where people compete and perform martial arts. Just by looking at the divine city, you can experience the current state of the human race, full of vitality and prosperity. The young people of the fish-human race saw it and found that the situation of the human race was completely different from what they thought. They thought that after the human race regained control of the starry sky, they should become slacker. After all, there are no enemies, so even if you need to rest, you should rest for a while. Yuchingru had similar thoughts at first, but after Lin Moyu said it yesterday, she already understood. The human race is preparing to face a new enemy, a more terrifying enemy. I hope the patriarch can make the right choice this time. In her opinion, the previous choice was wrong. At that time, when the human race was fighting against the hundreds of races, they should stand in line with the human race. If so, the relationship between them and the human race should become very good. It's not like now that I'm giving gifts at door to door, showing strength and weakness, which seems a bit ridiculous. In a palace next to the central hall of the divine city, Lin Moyu, Saint Hao and Saint Fu were looking at the projection provided by the Human Emperor Network. In the projection, people from the Starry Sky Fishman tribe are visiting the divine city. The Human Emperor Network specially amplified the micro-expressions of the Starry Skyfish people. Every tiny emotion they had could not escape the observation of Lin Moyu and others. Fu Xingzuan said, "What are you going to do with the Starry Skyfish men?" Wu Xingzuan said with a smile, "They were originally vassals of my human race, but it's been too long, and they don't even know it anymore. If this were not the case, we would have taken care of them after the 100 Tribes War." Fu Xingzuan said, "This is probably just one of the reasons." Saint Hao looked at Lin Moyu, and its meaning was self-evident. Lin Moyu became extremely thick-skinned. "Leave it to me to handle the matter regarding the Starry Sky Fishmen." Saint Hao immediately agreed, "No problem, I'm just a little curious, how do you plan to solve it?" Lin Moyu said, "It depends on what they do." Saint Hao did not continue this issue. Since Lin Moyu had already spoken, let Lin Moyu handle it. He looked at Fu Xingzuan, "Are our people ready?" Xingzuan Fu nodded, "I'm ready, but I don't know if Master Lin will end up. After all, in terms of age, you are younger than them all." Lin Moyu shook his head, "Forget it, I won't bully the children. I have other things to do." Xingzuan Fu nodded, "Okay, I will arrange the next thing." Saint Hao asked, "How about Moyu watching the battle with us and seeing the young people from our 2 tribes?" Lin Moyu smiled and said, "What's so interesting about children fighting? I still have some things to do, so I won't accompany you." Saint Hao seemed to have guessed what Lin Moyu was going to do, and couldn't help laughing. Fu Xingzuan realized it later and still didn't understand. Lin Moyu really wanted to cut through the mess quickly. Now that he had decided, he shouldn't waste time. The exchange lasted several days, which was enough for him to handle. After visiting the divine city, the human race arranged a feast for the Starry Skyfish human race, allowing them to taste the human race's delicacies. Lin Moyu and Lin Mohan have left the human race and are missing. The area that was once occupied by the Buddha clan has now become the territory of the Starry Sky Fishman clan. The Starry Sky Fish human race uses the laws of space to arrange formations. There are not many people in their tribe, so it is impossible for them to guard every inch of the starry sky like the human race. It can only rely on the formation. If someone invades, the formation will naturally warn and lock the starry sky. Fortunately, the area occupied by the Starry Sky Fishman clan is not large. After years of deployment, the formation has enveloped the entire clan. With a slight vibration in the space, a space gate appeared outside the Starry Sky Fishman tribe. Lin Moyu sensed the situation of the Starry Sky Fishmen and quickly adjusted his rules. Just a minute later, another space door opened, leading directly to the hinterland of the Starry Sky Fishmen. Yu Chimei, who was cultivating among the Starry Sky Fish people. He woke up suddenly, the laws of space surged, and he had appeared in the starry sky. He glanced around and saw Lin Moyu and Lin Mohan. Immediately afterwards, saints from the other side appeared one after another. Lin Moyu did not hide his aura. Anyone above the other side realm could sense it. Seeing Lin Moyu, several elders were surprised and at the same time wary. They didn't expect that Lin Moyu could break through the space formation, and they didn't discover him until he reached the hinterland. And it seemed that Lin Moyu still took the initiative to let them find out, otherwise they might not even know. This kind of elusive ability is really terrifying. Yu Chimei looked at Lin Moyu, his brows tightened into a knot. He found that he had underestimated Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu not only mastered the laws of space to 100%, but also seemed to have other abilities. Otherwise, Lin Moyu would not be able to break through their formation blockade. Yu Chimei glanced at Lin Moyu and saw Lin Mohan. Even he was shocked by Lin Mohan's beauty. He could swear that Lin Mohan was the most beautiful person he had ever seen in his life. But he was the Holy Lord after all, so he quickly came to his senses and looked away from Lin Mohan. Lin Moyu cupped his fists towards Yu Chimei. Chief Chimei, long time no see. Yu Chimei tried to calm herself down. What are you doing here? Lin Mo said, come and propose marriage. Propose a marriage? Everyone is confused about what it means to propose a marriage. At this time, Lin Mohan said, I am Lin Moyu's sister and his elder. On his behalf, I proposed marriage to the nobles and married Yu Qingru to my younger brother. As soon as these words came out, the whole hall was in an uproar. Everyone looked in disbelief. What kind of person could say such a thing? Everyone present felt that this woman was probably crazy. What a pity that such a beautiful woman is a lunatic. How could you say such a thing? What is going on in your head? Does the human race really think that they are the masters of the world? Such bold words can be said. Although the human race is very strong, my race is not easy to mess with. The worst is possible. The elders of the Starry Sky Fishman tribe were furious, and Yu Chi's eyebrows were filled with anger. Do you know what you are talking about? Lin Mohan smiled brightly. I said it very clearly, and you heard it very clearly. Your Majesty, the Holy Lord, will not be deaf. Lin Moyu smiled and said, Chief of the Red Eyebrow clan, don't forget what you promised me. A promise. As long as you can keep it, you will never break it. Yu Chisho's expression suddenly became dull. How could he have thought that Lin Moyu would make such a request? He always thought that Lin Moyu and Yu Qingru were friends, and never thought that they would develop into a couple. He said in a deep voice, Lin Moyu, I made you a promise, but this is not the case. I cannot violate the rules of the clan, even if I am the clan leader. He decisively rejected Lin Moyu. If he could agree to such a thing, how could the clan rules exist? Lin Mohan suddenly laughed sweetly. Don't talk too much. This is not the first time your clan rules have been broken. There is actually no difference between breaking it once and breaking it twice. Lin Mohan's words reminded them of Luo Shen. Although Luo Shen was great, he was still a scar among the fish people. It was because of the difficulties in the clan that I had to accept Luo Shen. This kind of thing cannot be repeated. Uchime said, the Luotian incident is a special situation, and it cannot happen again. Lin Mo said, it seems like the Red Eyebrow Patriarch is not going to keep his promise. Uchime said, we can discuss other matters, but this matter is absolutely impossible. Lin Mohan laughed again, and her voice gradually became cold. My aunt is here today to give you face, don't be ignorant. I really made my aunt angry. Believe it or not, I will kill you all. The atmosphere instantly solidified, and all the elders scolded at the same time. How dare you act wild here? Don't think that you humans can cover the sky with just one hand. We are not easy to mess with. If you don't apologize, you don't want to leave today. Take them down and let the human saint come to pick them up. Suddenly, a powerful aura rose into the sky and instantly occupied the entire starry sky. The space was completely frozen, and the expressions of all the elders of the starry skyfish people were frozen together with the space. The breath of the half-step supreme realm hung like the hesitating sun above their heads, making them breathless. Lin Mohan whispered, shut up, I don't want to hear your nonsense. Chapter 2268. Do you still have this kind of garbage? The breath of Bamboo Supreme was so heavy that everyone could not lift their heads, let alone speak. Uchime and the two great elders are saints. Their situation is slightly better, but those on the other side are not so comfortable, and they are all stunned. Uchime also didn't expect that this young and beautiful woman would actually be a half-step supreme. Lin Moyu actually had such a terrifying sister. According to the information they obtained, Lin Moyu was already extremely powerful and had the ability to fight beyond his level. Unexpectedly, he actually has a more terrifying sister. In today's era, half-step supreme is the top combat power and the heritage of all races. It was a little strange before that how the human race managed to get rid of the Demon Lord and the Eagle Emperor. After all, after Xing Lao left the human race, he only had the fighting power of the Holy Lord. Now he finally understood that there was a half-step supreme in the human race, a half-step supreme who could move at will. Although you are the half-step supreme, we, the fish people, are not easy to mess with either. Uchime resisted the pressure of the half-step supreme and took out a scroll in his hand, along with a scroll for the human race. The scrolls are identical. The scroll comes from ancient times, and once activated, it can explode with a strike equivalent to the supreme. Although the half-step supreme was strong, it could not block the supreme's blow. Lin Moyu saw the scroll in Uchime's hand and smiled secretly. Sure enough, there is more than one. Come to think of it, there are still some scrolls like this among the fishmen. The one given to the human race is not only a show of goodwill, but also a message to the human race that they have a trump card in the supreme realm. Don't force them to die. Lin Moyu looked at her elder sister. What a pity, you don't know what you are facing. When Lin Mohan saw the scroll, he couldn't help but sneered. That's it. His fingers traced across the starry sky, and a fierce sword energy slashed towards Uchime. Lin Mohan was unequivocal when he said he would do it. Uchime didn't expect that Lin Mohan would make a sudden move. The two of them were close to each other, so the sword came quickly and urgently. Facing the half-step supreme's attack, he retreated almost instinctively. The scroll in his hand was instantly activated, and he shouted angrily, back away. All the elders of the fishmen retreated collectively. If this battle really started, they would have no part in it. The scroll was activated, blooming with rays of light, and instantly turned into a ball of flames. The sword light slash was swallowed up in the flames, leaving no trace behind. This sword looks very sharp, but in fact it is not powerful. After Uchime discovered this, he realized that he had been fooled, and he could completely block this sword. At this time, a more terrifying aura began to erupt in the starry sky, which was the aura that truly belonged to the supreme realm. Everyone felt heavy and had difficulty moving. Facing the supreme, they felt as weak as ants and had no resistance. The flames rose and evolved into a flame giant. The flame giant raised its big palm and slapped Lin Mohan. The starry sky shattered, and Lin Mohan and Lin Moyu were both attacked by this palm. Yuchime suddenly realized one thing. If Lin Moyu and the two died here, then their feud with the human race would be truly forged, and it would be an undying one. This is not what he wants. No matter how powerful the starry skyfish human race is, they cannot be a match for the human race. He regretted why he had activated the scrolls so rashly, but now it was too late. I hope they can hold on. After all, they are still half-step supreme. Yuchime could only pray in her heart. At this time, there was a scream in his ears, followed by the terrifying sword energy erupting. He saw a gray giant sword emerging behind Lin Mohan, with a purple line running through the sword. Her world of rules is a sword. Yuchime was shocked in his heart, and then his eyes widened. Lin Mohan actually held his world of rules in his hands. The sword energy swept across the starry sky, and all the Fishman clan elders spurted blood at the same time and retreated in shock. Their bodies and souls were swept by the invisible sword energy, and they were slightly injured. There is no attack yet, just holding the sword is so terrifying. Yuchime's heart skipped a beat. She is not an ordinary half-step supreme. The next second, the sword light illuminated the starry sky, directly defeating the flame giant's big palm, and at the same time shattering the flame giant into pieces. The flame giant exploded into pieces in the sword light, and scattered flames burned everywhere in the starry sky. The scroll shattered into pieces with a bang. The supreme blow was actually chopped into pieces by Lin Mohan's sword. Everyone looked at this scene in shock and were speechless for a long time. Yuchime swallowed hard. She is indeed no ordinary half-step supreme. Like Lin Moyu, she has the ability to leapfrog and fight. No, it's not fighting across levels, it's fighting across borders. Obviously, the half-step supreme has supreme combat power, but this woman is more terrifying than Lin Moyu. Lin Mohan held the world-destroying sword in his hand, and his sharp gaze swept across the entire audience. His gaze was like a sword, and no one dared to look at it. Finally, Lin Mohan looked at Yuchime and said, "Do you still have this kind of garbage? Take them out and kill them all." Yuchime's expression was complicated. He did still have the scrolls, but he took them out and asked Lin Mohan to chop them. He was not a fool. Scrolls are their trump card. If they use one less, how can they waste it casually? Lin Mohan asked, "Why don't you speak anymore? Are you mute?" At this moment, she was holding the world-destroying sword in her hand, like a female war goddess, commanding the entire audience. Yuchime didn't know what to say. If she didn't say it well and made the female war goddess unhappy, she might be able to kill her with one sword. Even if he mastered the laws of space, he was not sure he could avoid Lin Mohan's sword. Next to Lin Mohan, there is Lin Moyu, who also controls the laws of space. If Lin Moyu locks the space, his space laws will become invalid. If they really fight, they might be wiped out. Lin Moyu coughed lightly and said, "Chief of the Red Eyebrow Clan, why don't you think about your promise?" Yuchime's eyes were complicated. He was really thinking about it. It's impossible not to think about it. If not, these people will probably have to confess here today. He finally figured out that Lin Moyu and his two siblings were not here for discussion at all, but just to give a notice. He promised that everything would be fine. If you don't agree, you'll have to force yourself to agree. Facing Lin Mohan's intensity, Yuchime was very confused. After hesitating for a few seconds, he said, "Give us some time, we need to discuss it." Lin Moyu smiled slightly. "It should be." Yuchime immediately called all the elders together and started discussing. Lin Moyu looked at it from a distance with a smile on his face, not anxious at all. He is not afraid of Yuchime and others escaping, so where can they escape to? 3.8? Unless he no longer wants to be a member of the Starry Sky Fishman tribe and wants to be a polished commander. In the face of the clan's rules and life and death, I think he can make a smart decision. After a while, Yuchime and others finally discussed a result. Yuchime's eyes were complicated, as if he was unwilling to be humiliated and at the same time a little helpless. He suppressed his voice and said, Xuanwu is the princess of our clan and has a noble status. If you want to marry her, the etiquette. Before he finished speaking, a sword light flew out of Lin Mohan's hand. Yuchime was startled. Why did Lin Mohan take action again? The sword light stayed in front of Yuchime and turned into a sword. This sword exudes the aura of space, and the surrounding space continues to ripple. This is a sword that contains the laws of Sekima. Lin Mohan's cold voice said, This sword is the bride price. A sword that contained the laws of space was used as a betrothal gift by Lin Mohan. What the starry skyfish people are best at is the law of space. They can refine the magic weapon of the law of space themselves, and there is no shortage of this sword. A hint of humiliation flashed in the eyes of several other side elders, with a little anger, but they dared not speak out. Yuchime felt something extraordinary from this sword, and stretched out his hand to hold it suspiciously. The sword body vibrated slightly, and Yuchime's soul moved, leaving a mark on it, and at the same time he obtained information about the sword. His eyes burst with light, and his body was trembling. This sword is called the Xian Kong Sword, the Supreme Realm, and the Konghengxuan Method. Once upon a time in ancient times, there was a sword sect, and an amazing genius once appeared in it. That genius understood the laws of space and finally became supreme. He integrated his understanding of swords with the laws of space to form the inheritance of the factory. This inheritance was finally placed in the sword world, and it ranks high among the many inheritances in the sword world. Lin Mohan took out this inheritance from the sword world and gave it to the Starry Skyfishman clan as a betrothal gift. The Starry Skyfish people are good at space laws, but they have never inherited this aspect. The effectiveness of Kazama Law 26 is extremely rough. If you have this inheritance, you can truly bring out the power of space laws, and the entire clan's combat power will increase by at least 30%. Lin Mohan's voice was still cold. Are we sincere enough? Yuchime responded hurriedly, That's enough. There was excitement in his voice, which made everyone around him feel strange. The original humiliation and unwillingness could not be found in Yuchime at this moment. Yuchime was only excited and agitated. He held the Xian Kong sword tightly in his hand and never let go. Everyone was curious as to what kind of sword it was and why Yuchime became like this. It seems that breaking the clan rules is nothing compared to this sword. Lin Mohan nodded and smiled, Very good, then the matter is settled. The Holy Lord of the E-Clan will discuss the next matter with you. Don't regret it again, otherwise my aunt will not be so easy to talk to next time she comes. The space door disappeared and it was confirmed that the two people had left. At this time, several elders gathered around and asked, Clan leader, does the sword have a special sound? Yuchime's voice was still a little excited. This sword is called Xian Kong Sword, and it comes from a supreme being in ancient times. This supreme merging the laws of space and a set of sword techniques into one. A strong heritage has been formed. With this inheritance, our clan's war strength can be increased by at least 30%. What is the concept of increasing the clan's combat power by 30%? As soon as he said this, all the elders understood why Yuchime became like this. Breaking a rule once and using one Yuchingru in exchange for a huge increase in the family's strength makes the deal a happy one. Forget about urging the marriage, it will happen. Even he can't bear it. Lin Mohan said, Okay, let's go to Yu's house next stop to pick up Sister Yuju. In the Divine City, friendly exchanges between the young people of the two races are ongoing. This time is not a competition, everyone is on point, and their moves are measured. Among the geniuses sent by the human race, he is comparable to Zhang Lei from the star-colored human race. The same is true in terms of combat power. Each side has its own victory or defeat. This time it is not just a wheel station. You can freely choose your opponents. There is no limit on the number of matches for each person. The whole process is carried out in a happy and friendly atmosphere. Yu Qingru sat on the stage and watched the competition. As a fish-human princess, she has no end. She seemed to be watching the competition, but her eyes were a little distracted and she was thinking about other things. She knew what Lin Mohan and Lin Moyu were going to do, and she was very happy. I wonder how the clan leader will react. They won't fight. Will he suffer a loss? The clan leaders should not dare to kill people. Now that the human race is so powerful, the most they can do is drive them away. While he was thinking wildly, the shell around his waist suddenly vibrated. As soon as he became conscious, he immediately heard Lin Moyu's voice. It's all done. Just 4 words soothed Yu Qingruo's anxiety. Yu Qingru breathed a long sigh of relief, and the smile on his face became brighter and more charming. How did he do it? Is it really like what Sister Han said, slashing with one sword until they agreed? Old problems are solved and new ones begin to arise. As the princess of a clan, Yu Qingru has always been burdened with heavy responsibilities. She feels that she will become the head of her clan in the future, so she does not regard herself as an ordinary woman. Before meeting Lin Moyu, I had never thought about marriage. She always felt that the marriage had nothing to do with her. Even though she had a crush on Lin Moyu and had feelings for her, she never considered that one day she would become Lin Dongji's wife. Unexpectedly, in just a few days, everything changed. Just like an ordinary woman, she is about to get married and become his wife. This change in emotion and identity made Hui Qing a little confused. At a loss, but also full of sweetness, Yu Qingruo's lips would smile from time to time, and his bright eyes were even clearer and more beautiful. The Yu family in the Divine City Star territory, among the human race, the families with the ancestors of the other shore realm, all have great things. The human race also pays attention to bloodline. Being able to reach the other side realm means that the bloodline is good. This kind of bloodline will naturally have more children, more blessings, and perhaps geniuses will be born among them. This is indeed the case. The possibility of a genius being born from a major family has to be discovered far and wide. This also allows the status of each major family to continue. This is the case with the Yu family. Before Madame Jade, several other people were born in the Yu family. In almost every era, Biangan was born, and this Koingji Yu Chu family became one of the top families. It's a pity that the Yu family has never had a saint. But in this era, Mrs. Yu has a chance to become a saint and may be able to push the Yu family to its true peak. In the Yu family, Mrs. Jade is the only one who has a high status because people can stand shoulder to shoulder with her. As soon as Lin Moyu and his brother arrived at the star where the Yu family was located, they felt an unusual aura. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Someone in the Yu family is going to break through to the other side."